I can always cut things out.
Yeah, let me try it. This is the first time I'm broadcasting at a new studio setup, so that's why I'm starting to figure out what's working and what's not working.
All right. Yeah, you definitely got a little bit louder when your face was to the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's much better.
Awesome.
Didn't you used to have a beard? Where'd that go?
Yeah, I did a couple days ago.
Oh,
And
congrats.
it's coming back now, so
Okay. Must feel a little liberating.
you can't stop the thing. It grows so fast for me. It's not even a concern, but other people that can't grow beards, they're like, whoa, where's your beard? And I'm like, yeah, just give it a week. It'll be back.
Yeah, that sounded like a humble brag. That's like, oh, it grows so fast for me.
Honestly, it would be, but I'd electrolysis my face if I had the opportunity. I'd pay for it.
So I just want to show you what's around me here. Back there is a Walgreens, and then over here we have a Panera, which I don't know if you could see, but I am legit trying to make this work today because I'm really happy to have you on. And we had the tornado or the hurricane, whatever came up the East Coast. I forgot what it's called, Isaiah or Isaiah. It sounds like a superfruit, but it basically came through and took down a bunch of trees, took down a bunch of wires. So many of us have no power and no internet, but I'm hijacking.
Oh, bummer.
I'm doing the LTE for the strongest signal, and I'm hijacking some Panera Wi-Fi. And I don't even think they're open. They don't have power either.
Here we go.
Is that a green screen?
Yeah.
Are we gonna overlay some kind of like space background or whatnot?
No, it's not really set up. I literally just built this computer, and so there's empty boxes around me right now, and I need to get all the trash out and reorganize this room and then start setting up, like all the decoration and stuff. But for now, it's just hiding a mess.
Well, that sounds good. So, thank you for coming on. This is my podcast. It's called One Take with Jess. It's small. I don't have many podcasts. I'm building a little bit, but my goal is to really talk to people like you and get some of your ideas out there so other people can know about them and use them. And, 98% of people won't, but it's still my goal to try and make it so that people see other people doing amazing stuff and they get inspired to do it. So.
Awesome. We have some similar goals.
Yeah, great. I mean, you started out, so your Instagram name is REEZY Resells, at REEZY Resells on Instagram, and you've been on there for a long time showing people what you do. And you started out with Amazon, selling books, but you've certainly expanded that out significantly.
I actually started with eBay a long time ago, like back in 99.
Okay. Yep. Because I think they started like 95, 96. People hopped on
around
97,
there.
98. Yep.
Yeah. Silicon Valley boom era.
Yeah. That's when we started. So you're West Coast, I'm East Coast. But yeah, so my husband and I started also in 99 on eBay.
Nice. Yeah. So from there, I eventually discovered selling on Amazon, and I've been selling on Amazon full time and providing for my family in California, which is not easy, for over 15 years through selling on Amazon. And that is impressive, I guess. I mean, it's hard for me to like judge my own self or whatever, but I grew up poor, homeless, welfare, government health care. My parents have been to prison and jail. I've been in foster care. I've lived with everybody in my family. I was a bad kid. I went to juvenile hall. I had a kid when I was 16, barely turned 16, dropped out of high school right then, got married all in the same, and moved out on my own. So I've lived on my own since I was 16. My wife basically raised me. So we have a 20-year-old now and an 8-year-old. And so I tell her, no, you've raised 3 children.
Oh, it's nice that you give her that sort of credit, and I'm sure it's been rough.
Right. No, definitely. I mean, everything that's good is worth fighting for, I guess. And so we've definitely had our battles over the time. But that's kind of the more, I'm not like, hey, I made $1 million and I want you to get a Lamborghini. I just want people to do what makes them happy, but to understand that there is a million ways to make money on the internet, you know, not all of which are as terrible as some of the stuff that a lot of people do every single day to make a living. And many of them can be, based around your passion, and a lot of them can make you much more than your 9 to 5 in a lot less time and suck a lot less, and then give you the free time that you need to do whatever it is you want to do, which you might not even know what it is, but definitely probably spend more time with your family, or you know do
Right.
what you actually want to do, which is outside of money, whether that's, you love riding bikes or playing soccer, or I don't know, traveling
Yeah.
or writing, or, whatever, all the stuff that everyone
Yeah.
says
It
they're
gives
going
you
to do, or
freedom.
that they
Gives you
want to
freedom.
do, but they can't, because when you work 40, 50 hours a week for someone else doing something that you could care less about, when you get home from doing that for 8 or 10 hours or whatever, you don't want to, your energy's gone. That was all your good energy. All your good energy is from when you wake up, so like this is it's like a side tangent, but my daughter, who's 8, she is still asleep right now, and it is 10:42 in the morning. We homeschool. um and a lot of people think that's really strange that my daughter sleeps that late. We also let her stay up really late till like midnight or whenever she falls asleep. We just young parents, that's just how we've always been. We never were like really rigid with rules.
Is that
I
because she's
mean, with
working? Is she working? She putting on labels till midnight?
no, actually lately playing Animal Crossing. But the thing is I would much rather her be asleep right now, and then I can get some solid quality work time in while she's asleep between, 8 to 10, 7 to 10, 7 to she might make it to 11 a.m. today.
Yeah.
And that's, 3 hours of me being productive. Because
Right.
if she is like a lot of kids where they wake up at, butt crack of dawn, pull you out of bed, then they go to bed at what time? I don't know what
9.
a normal bedtime is, 7, 8, 9. Now I get what? I get those same 3 hours, but they're from 9 to midnight. My energy is crap from 9 to midnight. It's not great. I want to wake up, put some coffee on, you know, slam some orange juice, maybe eat an egg or two, and then get my work done. You know what I mean? But in the evening,
Right.
what am I going to do? I'm going to go, all right, let's watch, some Netflix. Like what's on, what's new, and so
So talk to me about back in 1999. How old were you?
so I was born in 84. So I was
15.
15 in 99. So I actually started selling on eBay before then. It would had to be at least 98.
Wow. So you
Um,
look like a little runt, and you mentioned a very like colorful past. So I'm not sure which stage you were in at age
this was way later. My past is my most of my, I grew up around domestic violence and seeing both my parents either abuse or get abused by every spouse they've ever had. Which was a lot across different ones. I remember in third grade, I moved around so much. I went to 4 or 5 schools in third grade. So like I moved around a lot, but to be honest, I would never change any of that stuff, because that's what made me. So like
Right.
I knew I could never ask my dad for $1. I
Hmm.
knew if I wanted something, I had to get it myself.
Yep.
And because I had such a bad life, or I mean, when it's your life, you kind of don't know it's bad until you kind of like, I guess, see what more of what other people's lives are like. And I think as a kid, you don't get to see a lot of that, maybe once you grow up a little bit. So I didn't think or realize it was like so bad. I knew, we weren't rich. I knew, we didn't get to go to Hawaii like other people did. I knew we lived in a hotel at sometimes, but I didn't, like, and I knew my dad did drugs and I would see that every once in a while, but I thought, I guess everybody's dad did drugs, and just like drinking some beer and watching football or whatever.
Yeah.
But what turns out is that that's like my superpower, because there's like nothing you can do that can put me off kilter, because I come from off kilter. I was like, what do you mean? Like a lot of people would probably freak out if they didn't know what they're going to eat for dinner tonight. And I was like, that's normal for me. Like I had this, I didn't want to go home because I didn't want to see my alcoholic father.
Yeah.
But even if I was hungry, I didn't know if we had food at home. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going there. There might not be food at home. Might see my dad. Who knows what that's going to turn into? No, thanks. I'll just stay out on the streets and I'll go to the pizza parlor, because I know that if I sit there and pretend to play video games, that when this family leaves, they're going to leave 2 or 3 slices on the table. And then I'll just go and grab that and I'll eat that and then I'll continue on my day. And that was kind of like the basis of how I became like REEZY Resells long before I like made a cool name for it or did social media, is that I always had these hustles. Like I was
It
a
was
bad kid.
survival. It was
Right.
survival. Yep.
Right. And I mean, some of the like more bad stuff I did when I was a really young kid, I like robbed an ATM. I kind of like saw Terminator and I was like, oh, they hacked an ATM. And so like we did that. And like I ended up taking a few $1,000s out of ATM when I was like 8 years old. And I didn't get in trouble because they thought I wasn't the mastermind. They were like, someone else, who's the mastermind behind this? And I was like, I did it. And they were like, tell us who it is. And like, they didn't believe me, you know?
Is there a statute of limitations here between the time you're 8 years old? I mean,
Yeah,
you kind
I
of
don't know.
confessed, and I don't want that to
I don't know. I
hurt you.
think it's like 20 years, right?
Okay.
But anyways, I would just like, I would run little scams. I grew up across the street from an amusement park. So the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. So it's free to get in. You can't have fun if you don't have any money.
Yep.
And so I figured out, and I could never ask my dad for $1, but I could literally hear money and see people with money in their hands all day long everywhere and smell all the food and everything, And so I figured out ways to get money, and it would start out with asking the game attendant, because back then the games took quarters and they would always get jammed. So there had to be a guy to clear out the jams and to help you. And so you would go to him and you'd say, hey, this game ate my quarter. And he'd give you a free, oh, sorry about that. And he'd give you a free game. Then you'd tell him again and again. And pretty soon he'd be like, whatever, kid. And he'd give you like 100 credits and just be like, leave me alone for the rest of the day. And so then
it's a good guy. That's a good guy.
I remember one day I had the epiphany. I was at the arcade. My friends came up and they're like, hey, let's go. Like, I think we had started skateboarding. So like, let's go down the street and skateboard. And I was like, dude, I can't. I got 100 credits on NBA hang time on this basketball. I got 100 credits, like you hit 99 credits and you can't put any more in. And I was like, I got to hang out here and play. And like, no, you don't. You got to come with us. And that's what I really wanted to do. So I was torn, and I looked over and there was some tourist kid next to me playing. And I was like, hey, I'll give you these 100 credits for $20. And he just gives me $20. And then I leave, and I was like, wow, I just converted.
Yeah. Cash value.
Me just asking that guy for credits to that, and now this guy, maybe he's our friend and he'll do it more, so that kind of like blossomed, and we would do stuff like, me and my group of friends, if one of us found out a hustle and then you like shared it with the other ones, that would be like status inside of our social circle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like there was this alpha factor driving us to like figure out new little hustles, and so like we would figure out how to win 1,000 tickets off this game with 1 quarter every time, whether it involved, hey, you go distract the guy and I'll like press the right buttons behind the counter, or whatever it was. But then when you get 1,000 tickets, you find the guy that's trying to win 1,000 tickets and for his girlfriend or whatever. It's like, hey, dude, you're going to spend like $60. Like, for $20, I'll give you these 1,000 tickets,
Yep.
Or get the giant.
That's amazing. I mean, you've always been trying to hack the system in the sense to benefit you. So you've always been creatively thinking.
Right. I mean, we used to do so much. We used to, we would go to this donut shop, and we know that every day at 2 p.m. the donut shop closes. And so from 1 to 2 p.m. the donuts are $5 for an entire paper bag full. Mm-hmm. So it's just what they do to liquidate their donut supply at the end of the day. They don't have any waste left over, and they recoup all their dough cost or whatever. So between 1 and 2, $5 for not like a grocery bag, but like a medium, a half grocery bag full. It's like at least a dozen or dozen and a half donuts for $5. We would then take that and then go to the church, because at 3 there was an AA meeting at the church.
Oh, perfect.
And then we would sell the donuts for $1 each to the people at the AA meeting at the church. Yep. And so, or we would keep buy one, get one free food coupons in our wallet. And then when we got hungry, we would go to the burger joint and tap the shoulder of someone in line and be like, hey, here's a buy one, get one free coupon. When you check out, get me a cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
They'd buy their burger and then get the free one and then give it to us. So those were like money as far as we were concerned.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
definitely.
that's kind of how I got started hustling and like recognizing opportunities. And at the same time, also, it's a really weird recipe or a storm that kind of like made me. But because I was neglected, I had to figure stuff out. No one really listened to me, like my parents, my dad or whoever was around. So I had to learn how to get people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got it, I had to learn how to deliver on that momentary capturing of their attention. And so like I knew how to recognize opportunities. I needed the opportunity. I wasn't scared to get the attention and I knew how to utilize it.
Right.
And so put that all together. When I got older, not much older, let's say like around like age 12 or so, some of my friends had older brothers and they were like selling weed and stuff. And so they kind of like put us on their squad and had us do work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm doing that, which now it's like pretty much legal almost everywhere in the US.
Yeah.
And so now I'm doing that. And now I'm learning even more, like now I'm learning real business. It's still all of the same principles. I'm getting money. I'm doing what needs, I'm converting stuff, but like I'm learning, inventory, supply, customers, reordering, how to make bulk deals, how to negotiate.
You're not the first person that has mentioned that the drug business, back in the day, really did teach them a lot about the ins and outs of regular business.
Much more than I learned from school, I can tell you that.
Managing your clientele, making sure your customers are happy, repeat visits, measuring.
I mean, there's so much stuff that you don't learn. Like I don't even know. It's still to this day stuff I know it has terms in business, but I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
So like, for example, I learned, like, I remember, so a customer hits you up, you don't have any product. Sorry, we're out of stock, right? What happens is they then get stock from another supplier and then they don't ever call you again.
Right.
And I was like, whatever happened to Charles? He used to call me every day. That one Thursday he called me and we were out of stock. He never called back since.
Yep.
You don't know if he found a supplier with a cheap, better price than you or a better quality product or whatever it is. And so that happened a few times to where I was like, look, I'm never telling someone I'm out of stock again.
Right.
Like if I'm out of stock, I'm just like, I'm like,
yep.
Like, yeah, we just restocked, we're getting everything ready, we'll be talking to you shortly. Where are you at? We'll deliver to you, or I'm out of stock, but I'll call another supplier and get stock at a loss or a break even just to supply the customer because I don't want to lose the customer because the value of the customer, I wasn't thinking like customer acquisition cost back then. All I was doing was like, I had a customer, now I don't. What happened? You know what I mean? And so there's all these things. And like to this day, I tell kids, especially I'm like, man, if you know more about business than people with an MBA out of college, like you learn so much.
It really is about putting it into practice. And a lot of kids like you, who had rough upbringings are putting it into practice even way before you know what it is. Like you just said, I don't know what I was doing, but I know it's a business thing, and I know that that's what was
exactly. And it's like the purest form of it, and it's also very risky, more so than a lot of business. What are you going to lose? Some money? You're going to go to jail.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. But so through all of that, wrap that all up together, then eBay started showing ads on TV in like 97, 98, something like whatever around then, late 90s. And me and my brother started messing around on eBay selling stuff. And at first he was just selling everything he didn't want. I remember he had a Gateway PC and he was like unscrewing the speakers. And he was like, I don't need speakers. I'll use headphones. And I was like, okay, whatever. And he's like, this piece of the case. And he's like, I could sell this piece of the case. Like, I don't need it. Like someone broke it and they need it. So pretty soon his computer looked like C3PO or something. It still worked and everything, but he had like sold all the case pieces for his computer just because he could,
That's awesome. And he walked away with like a pocket full of cash. He got rid of all his peripherals and he's good to go.
Well, he still had everything. It just looked it was all the circuit boards were sticking out. There was no covers for anything. And then he got like, he sold everything that my mom would let him sell. And then he sold his Nintendo. And this was really when we had the epiphany, is because, and I say we, but really it was my brother's Nintendo. I was just the older brother, so I was really heavily involved in helping him make his decisions. And I was fascinated also by the business aspect. But he sold the Nintendo 64 with all the games and the controllers, everything. We put everything we had that was the Nintendo in one box and sold it all. But we saw that the guy that bought it, his name was like video game buyer guy, something like that. Like I sell games direct. I don't know what. It was something along the lines where I was like, oh, he's a reseller and he specializes in games. That was his name. And that's when I realized you could click on someone's name on eBay and you could not only see what they're selling right now, but you could see what they actually sold. You could see what they tried to sell and what didn't sell. You could sort it by highest price and lowest price,
Right.
by most recent or oldest. And then you could start to learn, and you could be like, wow, here's all these stuff this guy sells. Here's how he takes his photos. Here's how he writes his titles and his descriptions. Oh, and look, here's Nintendo products like he bought from us, but it's not a big pile of a Nintendo. It's a console, a power cable, one controller, one game. And so then I literally itemized everything we had sold him and then looked through his stuff, and he had sold all of that exact same stuff that we sold to him recently enough within the last 30 to 60 days. And I itemized it all out. And I was like, wow, he's going to 2 to 3x his money off of what he bought from us. I was like, he just got us. And so I didn't know I didn't know it was called breaking bulk,
Okay.
but that's what he was doing. He was buying bulk and then breaking it out and piecing it out and then selling it individually, which is another business term. And so from there, I became even more fascinated and in like, okay, not only can we sell stuff on the internet, which is who knows how many people are out there looking for this stuff,
Right.
but there's ways we can do it to make more, and there's a strategy to it. There's mistakes that can be made, because on the internet, at least for me, even now, the way the consumer behaves is not as obvious as it is to you in person. When something happens to you in your person, like right in your hand in front of you, like when I lost that customer because he had called me last week and I was like, oh, we're out of stock. Bing, what happened. You know what I mean? But on the internet, when this thing sells, maybe would have never even looked at the dude's thing, and then I would have never known we undersold our thing. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's just the beginning of me like getting into the craft of reselling. And at the time we lived in Kansas, and they have real weather there. I'm from California. Long story short, I got shipped off to Kansas because I was a bad kid. That's where I met my wife and had my first kid. But in Kansas, they have real weather, and they don't have yard sales all year round. Sometimes it's too hot. Sometimes it's too cold. So there's really only like spring and fall where there's yard sales.
Right.
And we ran out of stuff to buy. So we started buying stuff off of eBay.
Is this you and your wife, or still you and your
me and my brother, actually?
Out in Kansas.
And that's when we were,
we started.
Yeah, we would stick to what we knew, which was like electronics and video stuff like little boys know, electronics, video games, toys that we'd had, Ninja Turtles, like all that kind of stuff, comic book cards. But I also, around this time was when I met my wife, and I probably had my kid like a year later. And then I was always reading. I was an avid reader. I was a really bad kid. And this is another one of those random things that happened to me in my life. Because I was such a bad kid, I spent a majority of my childhood grounded. Like that's why I was so bad when I was out, because I was free. I was like trying to get my freedom, but I was grounded a lot. I would say I was probably grounded like 25 to 50% of every moment of my life, probably, that I had available to me. And eventually I realized that there was books in most rooms, that there's books.
Yeah.
One of the first books I read the entire thing was I read the Old Testament Bible cover to cover. I'm not religious, but I read it and I liked the stories in there. And I remember, like, I don't even care if I'm grounded. I'm having fun in here reading these. Like, they don't know I'm having fun. But long story short, I became like an avid reader, and eventually realized I like science fiction a lot. Read every Star Wars book. And then years later, I was like, why do I have these 30 Star Wars books? I've been carrying them around for a couple years now. Like I was reading them as they came out. So every month one would come out, I'd buy it for like $12, whatever. But I had the collection, like 30 of them, and they were just sitting on my shelf. And I was like, I'm going to sell these. I don't even look at these things. So I put them up for a penny because I was just like, when you know that there's a demand for something, you can put it up for a penny and then
Yeah.
the market will
And
take
eBay
care
was
of
very
it.
good with auctions back then. I think the environment's
Yeah,
changed.
it's so much different. Now you have to pay to get views basically. But anyways, so I listed it and I was like, yeah, whatever, get some money back. And I was blown away by the price that it went. I remember to this day, I was like, I am astonished that it went for like 75 to 85% of what I paid for it.
Yep.
Because that wasn't even in my thought process as, oh, I'm going to recoup a good amount of my investment in these books. It was, let me get rid of these. Maybe we'll get a couple bucks a piece. And we ended up getting like $9 or $10 each. So it was like almost $300 value for these 30 books. And I probably paid only like $350 for them.
Yep.
And so I was like, wow. I was like, okay, people buy used books. Wow. Like wrote that in my brain somewhere. Forgot about it for a long time. But then we moved back to California. Now I have access to all kinds of thrift stores and year-round garage sales, and we're going back hard into the eBay stuff. And but I'm not making a lot of money. I'm making like grocery money. You know, my wife is a CNA, working in nursing homes and stuff. And eventually I started running into people who were scanning books at bookstores. And initially I thought they worked at the thrift stores.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be like, hey, you're putting these books out. Like, what? And they're like, I don't work here. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean you don't work here? You have a cart that's like literally overflowing with nothing but books. Like, you're clearly loading the shelves right now. And they're like, no, I'm buying these. And I was like, wait, what? Like, and I've never been shy. I'm the type of person that like within 20 minutes, we're like talking business, like we're talking salaries, like I just how I've always been. I just need to know, right? Because
Right.
I want to know what's possible and stuff. And so
Now,
right
I'm
away,
going to
I'm
pause
like,
you there for 1 second because that is a huge, huge thing that people have to learn. You know, if they're going to do anything, if they're looking to become a person that works at a car wash, you know, what kind of wax do you use? Why do you do it that way? You know, why are you making those circles or not circles?
right,
You have to be the one that asks a bunch of questions and be able to come up to someone who you don't know and say, you know, I want to learn more about you, you know.
right, exactly. Even if I don't care about washing cars, I'm still interested in how you do it. And you've been doing it for a decade and you've perfected that. Not only is this the best type of wax, you didn't like the brands that were available. So you make your own type of wax in your garage and you formulated this recipe and you're importing the resin from Canada. I don't know. Like, who knows,
But
and
now
that's
you
why.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm
Uh,
not going to do it and I could care less, but
yeah.
I'm fascinated by people that are good at stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're, generally, if you do something at a facility to where people will pay you for it, you're probably good at it. You're better than they are.
Yeah, and
Or
they might be able to articulate it and encapsulate it in just like a whole like five
and
minute
there's
conversation, and now you walk away with this knowledge that you
right, and that
have
you
before.
can learn a lot about other stuff from people. You might learn something about how to solve a completely different problem from how the guy solved the car wax issue or how
Right.
he set up, how he runs. You might go into a McDonald's and then go back to your car wash and then be like, wow, we need to move cars how they move people through McDonald's. Like, we need to do it. Like, we need the speedy system here. We need to figure it out, like, so
Exactly.
you can learn from everybody. But I asked, what are you doing with these books? Where are you selling them? And it went from like a casual conversation between someone to an adult trying to act like another adult was invisible and not responding to me at all. And so,
Really.
being the person that I am, I'm like, well, there's only really one reason why they're not going to talk to me. And it must be because they don't want to share their opportunity
Right.
because
Right.
they're
They
making
all of a
money.
sudden got
They must be
threatened
making,
that you were
they
gonna
must be making a lot of money. Oh, and now you got me excited. And I noted that you have a barcode scanner in your hand and it's, 19, what is it? Like, it's 2000 and you have a barcode scanner in your hand. It's 4 years before the iPhone came out. YouTube's not out. Barcode scanners have to be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like a tech guy. I'm like, okay, you have a barcode scanner. those are like $100 to $300. It's connected wirelessly to some kind of pocket computer you have in your hand. This was a PDA. This was way back in the day, like pocket PC. I'm like, so you got like $100 to $400 setup right here, and you're buying 25-cent books as high as the sky can seem. You don't dress like you're poor. You have a car that came out in the last 5 years that's in nice condition. You know, what is going on in this situation? And you don't want to tell me anything. And so I was driven. And so I would get on Google and I'd stay up for days trying to figure it out. But when you look for book scanning on Google or scanning books, all you find is stuff about people, at least especially then, talking about how to digitize books. And here's how you build a thing with a flatbed scanner. And
it was probably Yahoo or Ask Jeeves.
You could take your books from the library and then you could copy them for yourself at your home and make digital versions. And so like that wasn't what I wanted. So I couldn't figure it out. I spent weeks trying to Google it and lost nights of sleep, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I can Google with the best of them, but I just couldn't figure it out. And so I resorted to my only option was like, okay, I have to ask everyone. This is my only source is when I see people, I have to get what I can out of them, and they're going to clam up on me. So I have to try different ways to feel like I'm not a threat to them or whatever. And I'm a really overbearing person. Mostly because I really don't care and I want to know what I want to know. And I'm just I don't care what you think, you know, I have good intentions. I want to know what I want to know. And so, and I really like, let's just cut the bullshit and get to the meat and potatoes. Can we please? Like, no disrespect or anything, but I'm not going to tiptoe around knowing what I want to know. You know, like you might know this person for a year and you're not talking to them as deep about business as I am in 5 minutes, because that's just where my mind goes to or whatever. And so I was not very good at not scaring them when I would try to ask them for the information. They knew I really wanted to know it, you know? But eventually one day I seen an older woman who I had never seen before, you know, out of the 5 or 6 people that I would see around at all the thrift stores every once in a while. I had never seen this woman before. So I got excited because I thought maybe she's from out of town. Maybe she doesn't care. Maybe she'll tell me. Yeah. And I asked her, and she just told me the name of the software that she was using on the little computer. And that was it. I just left. And I ran home fast as I could, got on the computer because this was pre iPhone. We were still check to check. Yeah. I didn't have a cell phone. I mean, we were like, what bill can we pay this month? That's like where we were at, you know, like we were like, okay, well, they're all overdue, but they're going to actually turn this one off in 10 days. So let's pay that one, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. But you know what? She has no idea that she might have changed your life. Like she
she definitely did. I'm sure I would have figured it out eventually, or someone else would have came along, but that software, they had literature on their website. And so I learned a little bit. I found some new keywords to look up. And so soon enough, I had figured it out. And now I was able to buy books much more accurately because I was already buying the books before. As soon as I figured out what they were doing, then I figured out it was on Amazon, but I still hadn't figured out the little scanner thing. And so I was like buying books. I was like writing it down, going to the payphone, calling my brother. And we used to call this having a rabbit, someone who was on a computer that you could reach by a phone. And you could have them on eBay and say, hey, should we buy this? This is the information. This is how much it costs. And so we were doing that for a while. I would write down numbers and then go to the public library and look stuff up and then walk 3 blocks back to the thrift store and buy, you know. But anyways, I was no competition with my competition.
Right.
If me and you are there and they put the books out right now and I have to write stuff down because I'm unsure of my purchases and go look it up and come back, you've already, you know, it takes you 1 second to scan a barcode with your little computer thing, you know. So eventually I figured out Amazon. I figured out
one second. I'm sorry. I'm going to pause you there again. Just backtrack for 1 quick second, just to tell you a little quick story about my interaction with a gentleman last week at Goodwill, because I was looking at books as well. And I have the scanner thing. I think I use Scout IQ. Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Scout IQ. And eBay. You can always go to the barcode scanner on eBay and scan books as well. So I saw this gentleman, he was doing the same thing I was at, you know, the same bookshelf a few feet down, and he was keying in each letter, you know, like of the title. And I was like, excuse me, are you using any particular software to scan the book? He's like, no, I just type in the title. First he was like, why are you talking to me? And then, but I said to him, I'm like, here's what I use. It's actually much quicker. And I showed him the app and he wrote it down. And I also just showed him that eBay scanner. He's like, I never knew that that was there. I was like, yep, it's there. You know, just carry on and enjoy your day. I didn't
Nice.
care if he was going to grab like a couple of the books that I was going to. I'm like,
Right.
I have an opportunity to make someone's life better. And
Right.
if he's here, he might be here every week, twice a week, 3 times a week, just keying in stuff. Hopefully I just made something that'll help his life, you know.
Right. Yeah. And
So
that's
it felt
awesome of
good for
you.
me. And I
Back,
might have
back,
sacrificed sales, but I feel
I,
like I just did good for someone, especially
I
during
think
this
back in the day that was a lot less likely. There was a lot less people sharing. We had a much
yeah,
colder
that's true.
community. The internet, I believe, is warming up communities more. Probably partly because people get equity in communities through sharing and helping. You know, so if I help and share, I might create more competition definitely for myself, and I might lose out in the short term, but in the long term, we're going to figure it out anyways if you were worth a while as a competition seriously, or someone else was going to help you and give you
Yeah,
that
I
same
felt I paid it
information.
forward, you know, if
Right. So
someone,
so if someone else is going to give, if that's, at least that's how I've always think when people are like, well, why do you teach people? And I'm like, look, initially I wanted to do it just to make money on the internet, to be a YouTuber or whatever, right? And whatever else comes along with that. But I also realized, I was like, look, if I don't share the information, eventually someone else will.
mm-hmm,
So the information will get shared. Why shouldn't it be me?
right.
Why don't I get that equity, right? So that's what I did. And then through helping people, and I get all the messages all the time. You helped me. You like every single day, dozens of messages.
Yeah, how
So
awesome does that
simple.
feel? And
It's
like your daughter's probably so proud of you and your
it's
wife. She raised such a
it's
good husband.
it's wildly amazing, and it actually transformed me a lot, because like I said, I started out doing it for selfish reasons, just because I wanted to be a YouTuber, because I wanted to be the center of attention. And what ended up happening was, because I grew up really selfish, like I'm not religious. It was, look out for yourself, like all these things. And that feeling that I get when someone tells me I helped them, or like there's certain ones that I'll always remember, like people like, what was it like just for Easter, and I did these Instacart videos, and COVID had just taken off. A lot of people lost their job, and the unemployment hadn't really kicked in yet. Stimulus checks hadn't came out. And I made these videos about Instacart grocery shopping on gig economy stuff, a new way to make money, which was like a self-awareness thing for me. I was like, oh, my audience likes this stuff, not just how to be a reseller, um, I had several videos that got over 100,000 views, and now out of 550 plus videos, there's 5 Instacart videos in my top 10
Mm,
of over 5 years. So just to show you how well they did, the demand was up for Instacart because of COVID. The pay was up. It was a really great opportunity for a short while. People were making like $300 a day, like $50 an hour easily, and
right.
all you need to do is download an app, sign up. You got a phone, you got a license, you got a car, you're good. Like the barrier to entry was so low, it was so accessible compared to learning how to be a bookseller or a reseller, or investing money into products that may or may not sell.
Yeah.
So the response was amazing, blew me away. And someone had sent me a message that was like, thank you for this content. Me and my husband got laid off. We literally were check to check. We had no money. Like, we thought the kids weren't going to get Easter baskets this Easter, but because of your Instacart videos, we had a nice Easter dinner with all the trimmings, and the kids got their Easter baskets and yada, yada. And I know that's like a small thing or whatever, but I know as a kid that grew up in that situation where, like, all of our everything was sponsored by someone, like I might have one Christmas present from my mom or dad, or even zero, and every other present under the tree came from the Goodwill or the Salvation Army, like from the Angel Tree, and so, or we had like sororities sponsoring us and, donating this or that, like
Yeah.
going to the church to get food. Like I always, I've been on both sides. I've been the adult, and when we were young, up until my kid was like 5, we were on food stamps.
Right.
And we were doing those things. And that's kind of like when I had to make the change, I was like, you know what, screw this. Like I grew up in this crap, and like, I don't want my kids, you know, now we're on food stamps again. Like, screw this, you
Mhm.
know, and we're not going to be there, you know? And so to be able to help other people with, you know, like I can't go back in time, you know,
Yeah.
don't have a time machine, but I can help people who are in places right now that are similar to the places that me or my family was
Right.
back then. You know, like I could go back in time and teach my dad some stuff that might have really improved my life as a child, you know, or like when someone tells me that, like, okay, they quit their job, that's cool. Like I'm stoked you quit your job from my content. But what is like the cherry on it for me is the people who have kids and they're like, I quit my job and I spend more time with my kids now.
Right.
I'm like, yes, yes. Like I feel like a superhero when that happens, because I know there's so many kids. There's kids, they're just like, they're barely old enough to watch themselves at home. They're like 11, 12, you know, maybe even 10 or 9, and both their parents work a full-time job, you
Right.
know, opposite schedules, or maybe the same, like whatever you can get, you know. You might not see your parents very much. You might come home from school, maybe you have
Yeah,
one
no, it's
parent,
true.
come home from school, do your homework, make yourself a frozen pizza, and basically fall asleep on the couch just as your single parent is getting home from work, you know, and they're there enough to like get you ready to go to school in the morning, then they go to work, you know, like, and you never really get this, like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
you know
know.
what?
So,
That being said, the entrepreneur life really is quite risky as well, with
oh,
the
it's
health insurance and
in,
if maybe one of you has a corporate type job, you're a little bit more protected. But you know, if you're both relying on the entrepreneur life for your income, it's kind of scary out there, and it's really not. The economy's not built to help entrepreneurs.
yeah, it's honestly the health thing. That's one of the things that kind of like is an eye opener to me as like an American, with as like a big problem we have with our healthcare system
Hmm.
is it's just not okay how bad it is. You know, it's like I pay like, so we have no, like, all the healthcare comes from me paying for it. We have nobody, no job or anything that like has healthcare or whatever. So it's
Right.
me, my wife, and my 8-year-old daughter, and I think we pay something like $800 or $900 a month for healthcare for all three of us, and it's not good.
No, it's not.
It's like it's not even good.
Like
Like
fifteen to
if I want to
eighteen
get
thousand a year.
if I want to get dental work done, I will have to go to the same places that I would go to if I was on the government dental care, and that place is like a chop shop.
Yeah.
So I'm paying $900 a month to go sit next to my old self who's getting a root canal done for free, and they're going to screw your teeth up. They're not going to tell you that you shouldn't do this procedure because that procedure will make them more money. You know what I mean? It's not like when you go to like the really top of the line places where they will actually like tell you what's in your best interest. You know, they're not treating you just as like a transaction. You know what I mean? Or it's
Yeah.
like, I have 2 places I can go to, but if I drive 45 miles away, there's some decent options, you know? And I'm like, that's what I get for like $800, $900 a month. You got to be kidding
Yeah.
me. Like, what do
Well,
I got to pay $1,600 a month to get like the premium stuff, you
yes,
know? And
actually, yes. So you either have to be very poor or you have to be very rich, because, you know, all of us in the middle have to pay through the nose. And my husband and I are both entrepreneurs. We both have our own, you know, self-owned businesses, and we do pay 15,000 a year, you know, for medical. And then dental on top of that, it drains you dry. So being an entrepreneur and going out on your own certainly gives you the flexibility to be with your family, to do, you know, whatever you can. A lot of times you're working harder than you would if you were doing a 9 to 5 in an office that has
right.
benefits and
Yeah, I think that's
practices.
the thing a lot of people don't get, is that it's not like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, now let's go to Jamaica and lay on
Yeah,
the beach and smoke
it's
weed.
not a
Like
cushy
that's
life.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is really like
it
what you put into it is really hopefully what you're gonna get out of it.
and I think that's why, like what you were saying in the beginning, you briefly touched on it, like how many people have you helped that have or haven't used the information or whatever. You said something about that.
Yeah, like 98%
And that's kind of
aren't
what
gonna
a
use.
lot, everyone wants to quit their job that they hate, but are they going to afford the cost of suck that it takes to get there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'll tell you straight off, most of you want it, but don't really want what it takes to get there.
Let me tell
And
you, I used to work corporate. I had a cushy job way back. And then when I had my second daughter, I went home, I stayed home and I worked from home. My husband was already doing the eBay stuff. So I was down in the basement cleaning greasy tools and, reselling them and listing them and packing them and shipping them. And I would go on recycle days and I'd steal people's newspapers that they had out there because that was like our packing material. And I would go to the behind the shop right and grab a pallet if I had to, or any of the
right,
boxes that I saw laying around that we could use as packing material. And my husband said, he's like, "Aren't you embarrassed? This is our neighborhood." I'm like, "Fuck no! We gotta make this work. I'm not gonna go pay for shipping materials at
yeah,
like
who
two
cares
dollars
about
and
the
fifty cents a
Joneses?
box." Yeah. So even to this day, I racked up on bulk pickup day in our town and two towns over, where people put out their furniture and their stuff and razor scooters and fireplace, gates that are beautiful
Right.
brass, like a lot of mid-century I found laying on the side of the road. And I was scooping it up and put it in the back of my truck. I
See,
must have,
that's the difference. Like some people, they wouldn't, if they knew what they had to do it, they wouldn't do it. Like
yeah,
I've taken. Have you ever been to a Goodwill outlet?
yes.
Okay, so you know what it's like. They can be pretty ferocious. I have taken people there. I remember, I'll never forget. I took one of my good friends. He's a DJ and he collects records. And I was like, "Oh man, you collect records? There is so many records here. Like, you're gonna get them for like a quarter a piece. You're gonna get 100 pounds of records for $25. Like, they have auctions, like You're gonna love it, dude." We get there, and he basically went like catatonic and just stood against the edge of the wall the whole time we were there, and was just drank his coffee and was like, "Yeah, this is not for me. Like, I'll go, like, tell me when it's time to go." And it's because of the way that it works is like they put everything out, like all the clothing, all the books, all the records, all the plates, all the electronic, everything. And um, they're all in pallet sized containers called Gaylords,
Uh-huh.
cubic sizes. And then you dig through and get what you want. And then you go pay by the pound and you leave. The problem is it's a little physical.
Hmm.
It's not, people aren't actually elbowing you, but they're not trying to be really nice to make sure they're not elbowing you. So, like, they might be standing a little close to you, and while they're moving their arms through the stuff, they might be rubbing their arms against you, and there might be the occasional time where you and someone else grab something at the same time and they pull it a little harder than you do,
Yeah, it's
and
not
like
for the faint of heart, but it's
ex-
still,
ex-
you have to.
exactly. And you can't exist in that world if you're not willing to, to be tough or to deal with that, like in situations like that, people will test you. And so they want to see how tough you are. And so maybe they'll be a little extra rough with you to see if maybe, I've never seen this guy. Let me give him a little bit of the elbow. And you're like, elbow success. Like, they walk off and they leave, you're like, success, you know what I mean? But if the elbow trick doesn't work 3 or 4 times, they're not going to keep doing it. It's a waste of energy. They,
Right.
they want to test you, and so entrepreneurship will test you. And most people, I think most people have probably never tried anything like really, really hard, like to the extent of your capability to where you'll cry, you'll like melt down or go mentally insane. Most people probably have done that like 5 times in their entire lifetime for
Yeah, well,
anything.
it has to, I mean, all that's with your comfort zone. And when you're out of your comfort zone, you either have to put on a new persona, and it's kind of like acting, where you just got to get into it and feel the discomfort. And then only afterwards, after you accomplish it, then you feel like a sense of pride. It's that high diving board thing. No one
Yeah.
is not scared when you're up there. Your knees are knocking, you're shivering. You feel
I think
amazing
that's
when you hit the
another skill that I learned from being a bad kid, because I lied so much that I realized at some point, some stories I didn't remember what the truth was.
Yeah.
And so that when I realized that there was real things that happened in my life and I was there, but I've told the lie so many times, I don't remember the truth anymore. That's when I realized I could brainwash myself.
Oh,
And so, like, for good, for success. Brainwash yourself. This will work. I am going to do this. I've already done it. I'm just doing it again, you know?
Right.
And also
Some
because
people
I had
positive speak, brainwash.
right. Also because I had this is just another part of this crazy storm that made me is because I had such a rough upbringing and bad things happened to me. I had two options. I could either be a sad, depressed person who was a victim because things happened to me, or I could brainwash myself and basically pretend like they never happened. And if I do that long enough, then I could maybe get to this point where I don't even know if it happened at all or not anymore, but definitely not affecting me negatively.
Right.
And so I kind of realized at some point, I was like, wow, there's like, not only do you have to not be scared to take a chance, sometimes things don't go right or well, or even can go monstrously bad, but you don't have to dwell on that.
Yes.
You don't even have to mind it any attention. Just try again.
Right.
You know, and just like, you know, so and so like what, you know, I'll never forget, like as a kid wanting to go talk to girls at the amusement park, and there's this really pretty girl and I'm going to talk to her, and then I don't go talk to her. And this is, of course, you know, I'm 11, 12, 13, pre-cell phone, internet, whatever. And it's amusement park. It's a tourist thing. She's gone. I'll never see her again. You blew it, Mike. You blew it. So I was like, I'll never let that happen again. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
You know, just take your chance. What do you got to lose? You'll feel bad. She'll say no. The endeavor will not work.
Yeah.
You really want to do it, you can try again.
Yeah, you'll get over it. It's a numbers game. Even with selling, listing items, it's a numbers game. If you list 50, if you list 150, the more you list, the more you'll sell. Everything's a numbers game. If you ask 20 girls out versus, 30 girls out, there's a chance that maybe one more of them will say yes. Or, all of them will say no.
Yeah, they could all say no too. But I think the important lesson is to not be scared to take a chance, you know, and to get to that point of not being scared to take a chance, you have to give zero fucks about the no's and about the failures, and no matter how bad they are, you know, like your house burned down and it was your fault. Build another house. Don't do that again. You know what I mean? You don't have to the house burned down because you didn't hire an electrician and you thought you could do it yourself. And now, you know, you can't.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to continually keep punching yourself in the head over that. Just build a new house. This time, hire an electrician.
Well, you said that key word. You said just. And I say that all the time when I'm talking to people. Just do it. Just clear out some stuff in the kitchen and list it. Just sign up for eBay. You know, And that word coming out of my mouth sounds so easy. It gives them the approval to move forward. Just do this.
People always tell me, they're like, how do I become a YouTuber? I'm like, just press the red button.
Just press
the red button.
Yeah, someone was like, I really want to start a podcast. I'm like, so just start a podcast. Just do it. Talk to your dog. Interview your dog. You know, interview your husband or your kid, whatever. But the just part sounds so easy to you and me, but it's just so challenging for someone else. That's why they're in the 98% that will probably not do anything with anything.
Well, people want to do stuff, but then they want to. They don't just do it. And wanting to do something is completely different than doing it, right? And so that's a very good point. Just just do it.
Think about how many times you're going to be saying that to everyone you talk to. Like, just go register on Poshmark. Just go to Goodwill and go through it, once a week. So many times I say that, and it becomes frustrating. So I become someone that looks at other people, and I become a hardened type person. I'm like, well, they're not helping themselves. So what am I going to do? How many times can I tell them to just clean out their kitchen cabinets?
At some point, you got to be, at least for me, I like the tough love is what I need. The most motivating thing for me is when I see someone who I look up to and admire, respect, whatever, and they just go, you're being a bitch. Like, and I tell them my thing, and they're just like, you're just being a bitch. Go do it. You could do it.
But you're the type of person that will.
Even if they'll look at you and they'll be like, bet you can't do it. And I'm like, oh, I hate you. I'm going to do it so bad. But I'm the same way. People will be like, someday I'm going to open a hair salon. And I'd be like, Karen, some days, not a day of the week. We've
Right.
got
Which day?
Monday, Tuesday. It's not some. I've never heard of this day called
Yep.
someday.
Yep. Exactly. And you try and pin them to it. I had a stranger the other day picking up an item that I sold on Facebook Marketplace. She's in my driveway. She's a young girl who just graduated college. And I'm like, oh, are you redecorating your college apartment or whatever? She's like, no, I think I'm going to be a life coach. And she was so timid and so she couldn't even speak words to me. And I'm thinking, I'm like, how is this girl going to coach people on their lives? She hasn't even lived hers yet.
Right.
And but then she was saying how, or I'm going to go back to grad school, but I want to start a podcast maybe. And again, these are the only words that she said to me. Other than that, she was silent. And I was like, so start a podcast. Just go start a podcast.
Right.
I don't really know how. I just, I'm like, Wednesday, go carve out Wednesday. It took me a half a day to learn how to upload it and record it. And, just go do it. That'll be your Wednesday. So I was
Right.
like feeding her even a date to put on her calendar. And then I was like, it's a lost cause. I'm tired of convincing people that they actually can do something when they're
Right.
actually not going to be doing it at all.
One of my favorite things to do, and I do this a lot on the internet, I want to start doing it in real life, is in that interaction with that person, you might have been able to get them to be like, Wednesday? Like, yeah, all right, Wednesday. I'm going to do it on Wednesday. And then you'd be like, great, what's your phone number? What?
Yep.
Why? Because I'm going to call you on Wednesday night to make sure you did it. And
Exactly.
I do stuff like that with people on the internet. They'll be like, I'm starting a YouTube channel and, like I'm going to post every week. So I'll go and subscribe. I won't tell them, but I'll go and subscribe. And then I'll put a reminder in my phone and I'll let a month go by. And then people are blown away because these are literally people that just commented something on one of my Instagram posts or sent me a DM. I might have not even replied to it, and I'll go back a month later and like, it's been a month. I see you uploaded that first video to YouTube and you did no more. You're 3 videos behind. Did you give up after one video?
Yeah.
What is the game plan here? Like what's going on? Like, REEZY, this is REEZY. I was like, yeah, you said you were going to do this. You're not doing it. Like, what's going on? Like, do I need to like, at least for me, that shame drives me. So I not everyone's the same. My wife is completely not the same. She's more of like, you're doing great, babe. Like, you're doing great. Like that's her style. But, like I know I've done it countless times on live streams where people will be on with me either in chat or live face to face and they'll say something and I'll be like, all right, guys, go follow this person. Let's hold them accountable.
Yep.
Like you're going to do this. Like, just do it. Like I think a lot of people, they're just scared and they haven't had life teach them that like when you're scared, that's when you should do it.
Right.
Like that's when all the good stuff is right on the other side of being scared. All the best stuff is right on the other side. And that's why it's the best stuff because a lot of people don't ever cross that fear boundary. And let me try and like push you into it. At least for me, like I know like if I wanted to start waking up at 5 a.m. every day, which is not something I want to do, but if I wanted to do it, I know the best way for me to do it is for me to publicize it. And that's like just unique to my situation. I have an audience like, hey guys, I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. It's going to suck. And I want you guys to hold me accountable. Yep. If you don't see me tweet by 5:05 a.m., you have my permission to, call me every bad name in the book or whatever, like literally I will let me put money into an equity and donate it to a cause that I'm completely against if I don't wake up at 5 a.m. So like, let me put all this pressure, like if I don't tweet by 5:05 a.m. and consistently like this money gets donated to this cause, which is like the antithesis of what I believe in. Like, let me figure, you have to understand what it takes because as humans are natural, it's not natural to have drive, to be an entrepreneur,
it's not.
And natural is just like, let me lay down and just exist and be comfortable, and all these I don't want to get into like evolution, religion or whatever, but I do believe we are part animal, part something that's completely not animal, like God or whatever you want to say. We have the ability to like think of really crazy stuff and then just do it, and even dedicate our whole life to doing something crazy stupid. Like a deer will never be like, well, I'm going to dedicate my life to this painting. I'm going to paint this entire pasture, you know? But a human could do it. You could say, I'm going to dedicate my life to painting a football field with my pinky toe. And you could do it. It'd be the
Right.
stupidest thing ever, but you could do it, you know? And so I think, you know, you just need to figure out what it is that it takes to get you where you want to go, and then, you know, do it. But that whole entrepreneur, that, you know, not the
Not
easiest
everyone.
way to do it, you know,
Yeah,
or
no.
or artistic creative stuff, which
Right.
your brain and your body is telling you, why are you painting a picture? This is not going to feed you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
this is like,
Not
why are you
everyone.
making a video? Like, this satiates this weird urge that you have, but your stomach hurts, you're hungry,
Yeah.
go shoot a rabbit.
Not everyone is going to be you, although they follow you. Like same thing with Gary Vee. Not everyone is going to be Gary Vee and be able to make such a following and parlay that into such a financially viable solution for their life. I mean, he's a motivational speaker, like you're a motivational speaker, but you do it also, and he does it as well in terms of living your life by making money doing what you're telling people to do. But if you just look up to people like yourself and say, oh, I want to be a REEZY or I want to be a Gary Vee, you can't be, and not everyone can be a leader. There
No, you
has to
can't.
be a bunch of followers, and some people are best in a corporate setting or having a boss that will show them the ropes and lead them along the way and teach them how to, you know, to feed their family, basically.
Yeah, Gary says it too. Not everyone can be the number one, you know, and you don't. A lot of people don't know where they fit or where they lie or like whatever. Yeah, I have a really good friend, like one of my best friends, Mike. He is not a. I wouldn't say he's not a leader, but I would say he's not the number one guy. He is the best right hand man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is such a good manager of a store, right? To where like, you know how some managers you'll have like, here's the store, you're the manager, here's what you do. They only do exactly what you told them to do, and then they just sit there or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Well, this guy, he really cares about your store. And he'll, every time you go in, he's reorganized the store, even though no one told him to reorganize the store. And he noted that, hey, we don't sell these very much, but we have a lot of foot traffic in this part of the store. And if I put these products over here, oh, suddenly they're selling now.
Great.
You know, and so
Great.
like, you tell him this is what we're doing, and he will make it happen better than you would have ever thought of. But he's not the guy that will say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open a store and
Yeah.
this is how it's going to work. But you know,
You
you
need a
give him
lot
a
of people
challenge,
like
you know what I
him.
mean? And so, yeah, there's a lot of people, you know, and there's also plenty of people that just want to go to work and get off work and play Animal Crossing and not have to worry about the stress. You know, I'm sometimes like, I might be like extremely tired and it's 12:30 in the morning. I should have went to bed 2 hours ago, and I get a certain text or I get a certain email, and it's like instantly I'm wide awake and I am handling this. I ain't going to bed for 2 hours now. Like instantly. And I might be at a wedding and I just got a text or
Right.
whatever it is. I might be 2 hours before I want to wake up, but my phone beeped and I looked at it and I was like, holy crap, like we are on, you know? And that's the stress that those people don't want or can't deal with. But as entrepreneurs, I think I'll always feel like the entrepreneur is the way out from having to ask for permission to go use the bathroom for a hall pass. Like, I'll never have to ask anyone for permission for a hall pass ever again.
But no one's checking up on you to make sure that you're doing your thing, which again puts people in a very uncomfortable position. A lot of people, even kids, I'll go back to like raising kids and how kids thrive. They thrive on schedule. They
Right.
thrive on, I mean, your parenting style sounds a little different, but you know, to make a kid feel secure and to do the rewards that yes, you're on the right path, or you know, good job accomplishing that, or here's how to fix this next time because you sucked at that. But you need to have them accountable in certain windows of time or in certain days, so that they can measure themselves, or that you can measure them. A lot of people are not good on their own. They're not good with either, A lot of people are like sucking at working from home, working remotely, because they don't have a schedule. They don't have other people that they need to impress, whether it's their boss. Some people used to
Right.
show up early for work just to impress their boss, but they'd be there at 7 a.m. sitting at their desk while everyone else started rolling in at 8:30. And now they don't have that opportunity anymore to just get that little bonus, you know.
Yeah, that's huge. You have to be, as an entrepreneur, you have to be a self-starter. You have to be creative. You have to be
Yeah,
able to see not only what needs to be done, but you have to understand what you want to do even. And
right.
then from there, which is hard to know what you want to do. And then from there, be like, okay, we want to make a touchdown. We have to get the ball across the field. The way we're going to do that is we're going to make 50, 20-yard plays or whatever, however
And you
many.
might whiteboard it. Do you whiteboard it? Because I whiteboard it. I
I
have like
do
a
whiteboard.
I have a
I'm
6 foot whiteboard.
much more of a to-do list person. Every day I
Yeah,
write. But
yeah,
the real important stuff, which is like the monthly or quarterly stuff, I'll put on the whiteboard just because I want to see it every day.
yeah.
But
You know what? But you have
the
to. You're holding yourself accountable, which is great. And then you have to make sure that you meet those milestones, because you don't have a boss that's going to come in and check on it and make sure, like, hey, how are we trending for the fourth quarter?
yeah,
You have to
I
ask
mean,
yourself that question.
yeah, I
So
mean,
it's a
you also
challenge. It's not
you
for
have to
everyone.
you have to reverse engineer yourself and figure out what it's going to work. It's like,
Right.
like Gary V getting a personal trainer. That's what it took for him to get into shape. For me to be like in massive shape, probably would take a personal trainer too. I would be like, I am paying you this much. Here's the key to my house. Pull me out of bed every morning and make sure I get to the gym. And
Yeah.
then cool, we're good. But if
Well,
I'm
that's
left to do it on
because
my own, I'm not even going to get up,
right, and
let
that's
alone
that's
go to
how
the
people
gym.
are. Those 98%, they really do need a boss or someone else to pull them out of bed to get into the office or to get back to their computer
Right.
and to hold them to certain milestones, like a personal trainer would. So 100%. But people have to. I think people are like deluding themselves by thinking that just because and I wrote like a little article about this on a vlog on my website. Basically, are you microdosing on motivation? You have those, you have your earpods in, or AirPods, whatever they're called, and you're just constantly listening to motivational podcasts. And it's like, dude, shut that off. One might get you going for the day, but don't listen to 3 or 4 and do nothing. You have
Right.
to, put rubber to the road and get going. Pick up people's bulk pickup, or list a few items, or don't, or go look for a
Yeah,
job.
that's what I
Get an
like
office
that.
job.
I like that thing. I think it's a Navy's thing or whatever, but military thing about making your bed in the morning.
Yeah,
Just
make
because
your
it's
bed.
like it's stupid. You're gonna get back in it and mess it up anyways. But it is like you don't want to make your bed. No, I don't think anyone wants to do anything. Like we want that good feeling that comes from doing stuff that's hard, but
Yes, the
you only
feeling of
know that,
accomplishment.
you only know that feeling's there because you've done it before. So it's just a weird catch 22, but sure, I'd rather not make my bed, but after I make my bed, it takes like 3 minutes, and it's the first time of every day where I can be like, you know what? I feel good because I did something that I didn't really want to do, and my bed looks nice. Boom. No, that's like the first one. And then you can do many more of them,
Yeah,
throughout the day or whatever. So, but for me, it's you have to figure out what drives you. And so what drives me to be an entrepreneur is, well, first of all, I know what my lifestyle was as a child, and I don't want that for my children or my family. But even more importantly, I never want to have to bite my tongue ever again. I
hmm
never want to be told what to do and when to do it. I never want to be like those dads that didn't get to go to all their kids' events because they had to work.
yeah,
Like you couldn't pay me $1,000 to miss a 13-year-old girl softball game. You know
right.
what I mean? Which is, I'm not even a sports guy, but I want to be there and support my kids. And when they look, I want them to see me there. Like
Yep.
my 20-year-old daughter, I've been, since she was 4 or something, I've worked full time for myself, reselling, never missed a single event of her entire life ever.
hmm
And also you need a ride to this game, hop in, giving other kids, their parents missed the event, but we're
Yeah.
giving them rides to the event. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and
It
so
totally
that pain drives me out of bed to be able to absorb the suck of, you know, the stress of what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? You know, where's the money going to come from? You know, what, oh my God, COVID destroyed my business. Now I have to figure out a new way
yeah.
to make money, you know, like, let me see what working, what can we double down on, you know, like.
Right. Right. Well, and that's where people also have to stay nimble and pivot and be able to be resilient. And a lot of people just, you know, they sunk. They hit rock bottom when COVID hit, and that's when I started posting those videos about go through your house, sell stuff online, you
Right.
know, in order to help people think of these things. But you know, like they have to want to do it. They have to break through the barriers of entry. So with eBay,
Yes.
it's register and put in a checking account or a debit
So,
card,
so
and
many
then you're off
people,
selling.
I believe, obviously not everyone, like you said, but I believe a good percentage of people, I'd say at least 10%, probably 10% of Americans, maybe more, could make a livable wage doing something they like to do on
Yep.
the internet, whether it is writing articles, making YouTube videos, whether or not you're in the video or it's just your hands playing with the toys that you like, or, you know, having a podcast, something, you know, writing ebooks, being a life coach. There, you know, your neighbor makes $100,000 a year off the internet, and you don't even know what they do. You
Yeah,
know,
go talk to
and
them. Go
exactly.
go
And
have
it's like,
conversations.
it's not just for, you know, these people, you know, like, hard work beats talent, and like people are like, well, I want to do YouTube, and I was like, all right, great, post 100 videos.
Yep.
If you can't post 100 videos, you know, you're not ever going to make it on YouTube. Very few people make it on YouTube with less than 100 videos, like to a full-time situation, and probably even like 200 or 300 videos. But I have people like, I don't know what to do. I can't make it. It's not, nothing stick. I'm getting no views. I made 12 cents off AdSense. So I go and look at their YouTube account, and they've posted 14 videos. You know, or
But
they
you know
ask me
what?
to
It
be
might not be their thing. They might thrive better by doing yard cleanups and starting to plow people's driveways. You know, maybe it's not their thing, but unfortunately, there are people out there that just think I'm going to be REEZY. I'm going to be Gary Vee. I'm going to be a Kardashian.
right.
Why am I not a millionaire by the time I'm, you know, 22 years old? They are, you know. So
You only
there's
posted 12 videos. That's why.
but there's just such unrealistic expectations, and then there's the feeling of failure because you
Here's the
measure
thing though.
yourself
Here's the thing though.
on unrealistic.
It might be somewhat unrealistic, but I think I also hate that word realistic. Because all of the best things I think are outside of real. Yeah, be realistic, kid. Like, everyone that we admire and look up to and talk to has went through a crazy journey that at some point someone said that's not realistic. But here's the reality of it, is that I think when I was a kid, you could be an actor, or you know, a basketball or a baseball player, or a singer or a musician or a rapper, whatever. That was it. Now you could be a YouTuber about a bazillion different things, including playing video games,
Yeah,
or Smurfs, or Star Trek, or you could be a blogger. Like, I think it's far easier for kids nowadays to be like, I'm going to make it being a famous social media person. They might not know what niche it's going to be in or whatever. That's far more realistic, in my opinion, than how much hard work it takes to become a top athlete, you know, or a top
right.
rapper, or
Yeah,
a
and if you're
top
5'3",
actor.
if you're 5'3", you're not going to be a basketball player. That's
Exactly. And
not realistic. But you might make
if
the best
you're
podcast about basketball, you know,
right,
or
right. And also back in the day, you know, you probably needed to go to a high school that had like an acting program, and maybe have been in some acting classes, and a lot of stuff which is not accessible. Well, guess what? Now there's people teaching acting for free on
right.
YouTube.
Yeah,
And so there's like everything that you would ever want to know, you can learn for free on the internet. And
yeah,
at the same time, you can then execute it on the internet and broadcast, and you can find out if you're any good, or if people have any interest in caring. Like, for me, for example, I thought, hey, I'm going to teach people how to make money and change their life. That's what REEZY Resells is. And that's what it is. The other half of it is the motivation and inspiration that's outside of the knowledge that comes from my background
Right.
and the life that I've lived. And then people being like, well, damn, like I thought I had a hard life, like, and I'm over here crying, like REEZY's not crying. Like maybe I don't have to cry. Or if he did it, I can do it, which may or may not be true because, how comfortable I am with my back against the wall or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like resources wise, like, yeah, you probably have more resources than me. So if I can do it, maybe you could do it too, And so like, I just think that we've, robots are coming, robots are like everyone says robots are taking all the jobs. Like, yeah, they're going to take the jobs at first, but then they're going to reduce the cost of living. Because when McDonald's has a robot and Burger King doesn't, McDonald's makes more money. But then when Burger King and McDonald's both have robots, they both start lowering their prices because they both now have this margin, the labor margin, which the robot does, right? So now they start lowering their prices, and soon enough, they have the same percentage margin they originally had when they had human employees, but burgers are 12 cents.
Right. Yeah. No.
And
And
so
and
that's going
people
to happen
have
with
to,
everything.
and people who used to work with these jobs that the robots are going to take over have to pivot. Again, they have to figure
So
it out.
some people are going to
There's a
fix
lot of
robots, but I think what's going to happen is maybe there's going to be a point of time where 40 hours is not the normal work week anymore.
no,
Where
and they're
it's
going to
like
need
20 hours is a normal work week, or, houses, even where I live, where a house is $1 million, maybe they'll be 3D printed and it will be like $100,000 house. And like a handcrafted house will be like, what are you, rich? Like you have a real house? Like we're just extruding them out of toothpaste tubes and slicing them and be like, oh, there's your house, Brent. There's your house, Brent.
I've
Like,
seen a couple videos like that. That is
right,
pretty
exactly.
phenomenal.
And so,
But people do have a heads up on where the future is going, and a lot of people don't choose not to listen. So if you're an Uber driver, if you're a truck driver, you know that we're going towards automated
right,
driving, and
right.
you're going to lose your job. You're going to end up, the industry is no longer going to need your services. So you have to start retraining yourself now. And that's always what you're doing, what I'm doing.
That's even why I think the whole media and personal brand thing is even more important, because as people have more free time, they're going to consume more content. People are going to be consuming more content than we consume now, which is actually kind of crazy, but
it is crazy. But we haven't even talked about how you've made like such a booming business, and you expanded into like a sort of a consignment. And are you still doing books? Do you use eBay, Amazon, any of the other?
So yeah, we didn't talk
services?
a lot about that kind of stuff. So
we did a lot of life coaching just now.
It's interesting. I'm having a good time. So
I have to make sure
I sold a lot for over a decade. I sold a cherry picking model, which means we go to different stores and yard sales and garage sales and get what we want to sell, and then we sell it.
Mm-hmm.
In the last year, we transitioned to a bulk book model where we are getting truckloads of waste paper books that people don't want, and then scanning through them, seriously, like 44 to 50,000 pounds of books every week or two, and then sorting through
How
them
many
all.
people do you have on staff?
At the time, we had 2 full-time to 2.5 employees full-time and myself. 2 people scanning books full-time. So we'd get 44,000 pounds of books, and we would scan every single barcode, sort them all, send off what we could to Amazon to make money, sell some back to bookstores, recycle 90% of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was an immense amount of work, and it was profitable. We stopped losing money about 2 months in, and we were making money from then on. But at about 6 months in, which is when we really started to get more efficient and lean, and we went from doing 2 trucks a month to doing over 3 and being like ready to do 4 truckloads a month, which would put us on a really good path to profit, like to being able to take paychecks from this business. And then COVID hit, and we lost our supply of books for 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually we ended up losing our employees. And then we got the supply back. Like we could get truckloads of books now.
How did you get on the route for truckloads of books?
I can't really share that information, but basically we just called cold called paper recyclers.
Oh, okay.
So I would call someone and said, "Hey, I want to buy, truckloads of waste books. Do you have them? What price?" And either they would say most 900% of the time no, but they'd say no, and I would just say, "Do you know anybody? Could you refer me to anybody that might be able to help me?" Or you know what I mean? And that was actually really crucial because I could only find so many contacts through Google and, through resources that I had.
Yeah.
But by asking people that question, it exposed me to new contacts that I didn't find myself. So it gave a chance for a no to turn into a yes. Instead of just a no being a shut door, it was like, well, thank you for being a no. Can you help me get to a yes?
Right.
Anyway, so we get the ability to get books back, but we don't have employees. And so now I'm thinking, okay, let's start it back up again. But if we start it up right now, I have to do all the work myself, which is insane because I have a lot of responsibilities for REEZY resells and my family and stuff, right? And I actually make way more money doing REEZY resells now than I do actually selling stuff for over a year now.
When you say that, you mean what? The videos?
Through YouTube and through my affiliate commission and different mentorship programs that I have, and for like sponsored videos and whatnot, advertisements, podcast ads, whatever. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, we could start it back up, but I'm going to have to do all the work myself. And so that kind of refocused me to be like, well, I know what my time's worth because I know like literally what I can bill someone an hour for. And then I was like, and I'm like, I can't afford to pay myself that much. Hell no, not for this position. And so then I was looking at the hours, like under a magnifying glass of how much hours it took to produce it. And yes, it's profitable, like dollar wise, I'm paying employees, but do I want to do that work myself for that much of a return? No. And so, okay, well, I'll have to hire people. And I'm like, well, man, every time, especially where I live, there's not a really good work ethic. I live near the beach, surf town. Like people are just taught to be happy and not to like endure, the suck, which is kind of something I was raised on. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to interview 100 people on the email or phone. I'm going to get to like 20 people. I might get one or two good employees out of it. And that's just my experience with hiring is like, I gotta go through 100 people to find one or two good ones that are going to stick around for, 6 months to a year or more.
Right.
And then I got to train them. And I was like, wow. At the same time, the consumer behavior changed so much. And it still right now has changed so much. So when COVID hit, we went from online buying volume, consumer behavior probably shifted like 3, 5, 10 years into the future in 3 months. So right now, the buying volume is like 3x, 5x, 10x in certain categories online.
Because people are at home, and is this still in the book category, or are you talking about other consumer
books,
products?
Everything went up on Amazon, including books, but some categories went up a lot more, right? And part of it's because people don't want to go to a store. Like at first, they couldn't go to stores. Everything was closed and you're quarantined, right? So that made a lot of people shop online who had never shopped online before. And all I can surmise is that they were like, wow, this shopping online stuff's not half bad. Like, why was I going to the store? This is so much easier, right? And so we expedited that shift in consumer behavior. And then at the same time, now you can go back to the store, but you got to wear a mask and you got to wait outside in line to get into the store. It's like, why would you go to the bank and wait in line when you could just deposit your check on your phone? Like it makes no sense, right? And so consumer behavior shifted, and also demand has been through the roof in certain categories, right? Like, people are selling masks. You couldn't sell masks before, like masks would not sell in America, right? Like people are selling, above ground swimming pools,
If
Why?
I lose you, that's because I think maybe I had a 3:00 Eastern time cutoff. So I'll send another link just in case.
But anyway, so it's like certain things, like for example, above ground swimming pools, right? I can't sell too many of them because I live right by the beach, and they're also really heavy. So some people are having good luck shipping them online. But if you live in the Midwest where it's extremely hot and there's no respite from it, there's no ocean right down the street.
Right.
You might make a killing right now selling above ground swimming pools. And a lot of people have selling them Facebook Marketplace. Why do people need a above ground swimming pool? Well, it's summer and they're trapped at home and their kids are driving them freaking crazy.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so
Are
the
you
kids
finding
need
Amazon versus eBay versus Facebook Marketplace? Where are you seeing the most uptick?
uh Amazon is the most, but Facebook Marketplace, if I wish I could get the data on that, definitely has been an increase. So a lot of stuff that's selling is like workout equipment, right? Is selling, but it's another situation where if you have to ship it, that's going to eat up a lot of your profit. And so
Right.
you better to sell on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist. And like we had phase one, then the gyms opened back up and I've been selling weights the whole time and I didn't get so many contacts. And then boom, now they're closing it down again. And now I sold 3, 4, 5 pairs of dumbbells for $50, $75 profit off of $100 investment,
Exactly.
in one day, and so maybe a dozen took me, 2 weeks to sell a dozen pairs of dumbbells on Facebook, but then the gyms closed down and I sell 6 pairs in one day.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, I wish I had, 100 pairs right now. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so basically what I'm trying to say is that the consumer behavior has shifted so much and the demand is up so much for other categories other than books that I just decided that, hey, we're going to shift our attention to sell the items that people want to buy right now because the demand is up so much. Most of the prices are up way more because the supply can't meet the demand. But at the
Hmm.
same time, the demand is so high. Like, I don't care if I'm only making $3 or $5 a unit if I'm selling 100 a day or
Hmm.
700 a week, like
Yeah.
that's
And
what's happening.
how do you score products like that in that quantity?
We've been buying 100% online. So we're doing 100% online arbitrage. We're buying from Target, Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon themselves. I mean, a lot of people. This is more like not online arbitrage is not like a super expert level thing, but there's software you can use. A software called Tactical Arbitrage to
Mhm.
scan stores and compare their prices against Amazon. So that's one of the things. But a lot of people don't know you can buy from Amazon and then sell back on Amazon. So if you use Keepa, KEEPA.com, which is a sales rank and stock tracker for Amazon and all this stuff, it's not free. You have to pay for it, but it gives you information and shows you when, for example, when Amazon's in stock and what price they've had historically,
Mm,
and when they're out of stock and what the sales rank has been and what the other sellers are selling it for when Amazon's out of stock and how much supply they have. And
interesting.
so using these graphs and tools like tactical arbitrage, you can scan something and say, for example, show me items carried by Amazon in the top 1,000 of the electronics category that Amazon's only in stock 25 to 50% of the time. So now you found a product that sells extremely well, and but Amazon can only keep it in stock at max 50% of the time, maybe 25% of the time. So now you're looking through those results and seeing the ones where the third party price pops high
Mhm.
enough to be profitable when Amazon's out of stock. Then we're setting alerts for those items. And then when Amazon comes in stock, we're buying 10, 20, 100, 200 from Amazon themselves. And then when we get it, we ship it back into Amazon, or we can ship it direct to customers ourselves, or ship it to Amazon FBA and let it sell to the customer that way.
And you break it
Um,
down? Do you do that bulk breakdown and then you end up breaking it down and selling it as one-offs or?
yeah, as one-offs, so we might buy, let's say there's like a certain brand of shampoo, and that's actually a terrible example. Hold on. Let's say that there is um I don't know. Let's just say there's like an above ground swimming pool in Amazon. It's highly desirable. The sales rank is good, has a lot of reviews. It sells extremely fast. When Amazon has it, it's $199. But they're fighting to keep it in stock. They get in stock, they go out of stock. They're not in stock consistently by any means. Over the last month, you can see that they've only been in stock, 25% of the time,
Right.
and they're in stock right now. So you buy it from them for $200. You buy 10 of them. So you spend $2,000. As soon as Amazon's out of stock, you can now sell it for 400 on
Hmm.
Amazon and maybe make, let me do some quick math real quick. 400 times 0.85 minus 200 and make $140
And you
before
took 0.85 because you lose
before
15%.
yeah, I just took 15% off in the cost of goods.
For
So
yep.
before shipping, $140 profit. So
Right.
maybe you would sell it locally and not pay that, or maybe it'd be a entirely different item in an entirely different category where when you ship it, it's it's $5 or $10, not however much a pool would cost to ship, right? So, totally different scenario, but still it's the same thing. Buy low, sell high, leverage the data, but one of the great things about shopping, about online arbitrage, is a lot of stores have really good return policies. So I could buy 20 things from Best Buy, and then the return policy is 60 days, and within 60 days I realize I made a bad purchasing decision, and so then I can just return it to Best Buy.
Right.
Just I don't know exactly, the policies are different now because of COVID or whatever, but it might be as simple as ordering it from Kohl's.com or Bed Bath & Beyond, and then you sell half of it and the other half doesn't sell, so you just walk it back to the store. You just drive up to Kohl's and you bring in 32 blenders and put them on the counter and return them, and it's not ideal because you don't want to develop relations like that, and I'm sure they would have, if you buy 32 blenders and return them too many times or whatever, but it's a nice escape clause parachute, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But
it's definitely, it's another means of pulling inventory in order to sell it for more. That's, same as
and there's pros and cons, that one of the cons, it's not thrifting, it's expensive. It's brand new stuff, costs a lot of money. You need credit, you need a lot of cash or good credit, bunch to leverage your credit. But you don't have to drive around looking for stuff, drive to 5 stores, not find anything.
You have the comfort that it's new. It's not like you're buying a juicer at a yard sale.
Exactly. There's no conditioning or there is a little inspecting. Some people don't know how to ship products, but you don't have to. You could source from anywhere. You could go on vacation for the weekend somewhere and be sitting by the pool buying stuff, and when you get home from your vacation, that stuff shows up.
Yeah.
You could hire what is called a prep service, a third-party service, and usually they charge $1 to $2 an item, and hire them to create Amazon shipments for you and forward them to your account. So now you're purchasing from American.com stores anywhere in the world, forwarding them to your third-party ship company, and then they're forwarding it to Amazon. And all of these third-party prep services, most of them are located in states that have no sales tax. So, for example, I'm in California. In my county, I pay 9.25% sales tax. So if I buy something that's $100, when it gets to me, I've actually paid $109.25. But if I ship it to a prep center in Delaware, which is sales tax free, I pay $100. So I save $9.25. They only charge me $1 to $2 to process that item entirely and send it to my Amazon account. So now I saved $8 or $7.50, whatever, and it went directly to Amazon, and it's accessible for people anywhere in the world. So people like, I live in Thailand. How can I sell in America? This is how you do it.
Yeah.
Make an American bank account, make it an Amazon, make a business in America, make a bank account, get an Amazon account, get a mailing address, get a third-party fulfillment service set up, prep center, boom, order it straight there. The same way people are ordering, private label products from China, from Alibaba, or from factories, and they come, you could either send it to your house or your warehouse and prep it and send it to FBA, or sometimes you can get them to send it straight to Amazon from the factory or to a prep facility, which will then send it to Amazon. So you don't have to be in America at all. People are like, I live in Australia. Amazon's kind of weird. It's not really as good as America. Like, what do you recommend? And I was like, well, there's got to be a lot of opportunity. It's, it hasn't been out for very long, but you can still participate in what's happening in America. Yeah. Right? Like we buy like crazy. Like nobody buys as much as Americans. It's like in our blood. We just buy stuff, it's like.
Right. Can you share any prep center names like you mentioned in Delaware?
So I don't actually know any offhand right now. I'm not using one because this is something online arbitrage. I've always done a little bit of it, but I've never really had it as like a primary business model until the last couple months. And right now I'm like getting into figuring that out because I'm at my wit's end of like just looking at my phone and being like, God, we have 560 orders to wrap today.
Wow.
And when there's 560 and I don't have any employees, I have an intern
Yeah.
and me. And if I'm lucky, my wife will come help me because she's the hardest worker, way harder than me.
Yeah.
She's one of those persons you tell her how it needs to be done and she's doing it way better than you could have ever thought.
It sounds like
But you know, we only get, you know, yeah, we make $3 more at that price if we wrap it ourselves. But and it's like,
like
oh,
why
it's
are you doing
$500
that and
order.
not doing BA?
Well, just because. So there was a couple reasons. One is because we make more per order, and the prices are very unstable. I might buy 100 units of this item, and the price is good right now, so I can sell it right now and capture the price right now, or I could risk shipping it to Amazon and the price changing in 7 to 10 days before it goes active, especially if other people found the same stuff that I did, then the supply is going to increase and you really don't know what's going to happen to the price. So partly because there's been an issue lately with the buy box that's happening and it's still not fully fixed, is to where FBA sellers are not really getting priority at all. Normally, if you're FBA, but you're, you know, 5-10% more than the merchant fulfilled sellers, you'll get the buy box. But right now, the FBA is not getting any preference at all. It seems like price is the most important point overall for the buy box right now. And so why not just sell it merchant fulfilled, get the sale, capture the price right now? But it, you know, I have a wearing point, you know, and I'm like 500, you know, cool. We make $3 more, you know, so 3 times a week we send out 500 orders and we make 1,500 more. But that day's wrecked, completely wrecked. Like I can't do anything that day. When we have to wrap 500 orders, it's like wake up, have coffee, eat some breakfast, go to the warehouse, pack stuff all day, maybe get it done before the post office closes, you know, or take it in the next morning. But then the rest of the day, it's like, you know, my wife's definitely not making dinner. Where are we going out for dinner? You know what I mean? And like have some wine because we
I
just
find those,
accomplished something. And so then it's
yeah,
like,
I
you know
find
what I
those
mean? We can't
good
get anything
listen
done.
days. Those are good days to listen to an audiobook or to catch up on those podcasts that you wanted to catch up on. I actually enjoy sticking an audiobook in and just, you know, having that be the pack and ship day and, you know, all for the best.
Right. So that, you know, it's and everybody has different situations. You know, I have a business partner. And so when you have a business partner and it's not just your business, it's everything's a little bit different, you know, like do you have a salary? Do you not have a salary? Are you paying yourself by the hour also? Are you not paying yourself at all, you know? And so for
What made
me,
you
it's
get a business partner?
so we've been partners for over 7 years. I've known him since I was like 15, like actually my best friend. But he was one of the only persons that I told about selling books on Amazon like way early when I wasn't talking about it to anybody. And he did it really well. And he's a hard worker. He works as hard as I do, and he's as smart as me, or smarter, probably smarter. And we just had a situation where he needed money to grow his side of the business, and his supplier was better than mine, and I had the money he needed, and I honestly got the way better end of the deal in the partnership, which is, people are always like, how do I know if it's a good partnership? And I was like, well, if you feel like you're ripping the other person off, you're probably getting a good deal, you know, like. And so not that I ripped off my best friend, but, you know, maybe part of it was he felt indebted to me because I taught him this business model or whatever. But at one point he needed an influx of cash and he needed some help. And so I gave him the cash he needed, and I came and worked, you know, like 10 or 15, 12 or 14-hour days with him. And we handled what needed to be handled at the time. And then we kind of just merged both of our Amazon book businesses together. And so that was 7 years ago. Since then, a lot of stuff has changed. You know, I've moved twice. He's moved like 5 times. He got married, had kids. Like his wife's a naval officer. So they're like, you know, they live here, then they live there, then they live over here. And so, things are a lot different now than when we originally made our partnership. But I like to throw that out there for people to understand, because a lot of people might not think or understand the dynamics of having a partnership. And it's a lot different. Like when it's just your business, and you get to keep all of the money you make. Even if you don't take any of it, you'll probably work yourself to the bone and care less and not track your time or anything. But as soon as you have a partner and you have like a fixed salary and your partner has a salary, now it's like, well, does this activity increase my salary? You know, and is my partner putting in the same energy that I'm putting in? You know, there's all these
Yeah,
new
it's a
new
different
dynamics.
dynamic for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So where I'm at right now with it is like, well, I don't get paid more for saving the company these extra $3 per order, and it wrecks 3 days of the week for me. So I think we're going to start going back to FBA because I didn't get into business to make a lot of money. I got into business to be in control of my time.
Okay.
And those 3 days a
Okay.
week, I'm not in control of my time. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I mean, I need money just as much as everyone else. And there's a lot of stuff I would like to do in life that takes a lot of money, you know, give money away, travel, who knows what I want to do. But the core reason of why I always wanted to be my own boss is because I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that merchant fulfilled is like a form of jail, I guess you would say. It's like a ball and chain, you know, like I'm happy to have the orders and make the money, but
Right.
I have to go and wrap them right now.
Yeah. But
No,
you
it's like
do, Merchant Fulfilled also does give you the freedom to keep your inventory there in case you need to
yep,
return it. You don't
exactly.
rack up the storage fees.
Yep.
If you list it in multiple places, you can ship it out because it's sold on eBay, or
Right.
three people are
Right.
picking it up from Facebook Marketplace. You have that flexibility. So
Right.
I do believe it also mitigates your risk with that
No,
inventory.
definitely, which is part of the reason we did it also.
Yeah.
But there's two main reasons why I really love Amazon. One is, of course, because they have the most traffic. No one has the traffic like
Not
Amazon
even
does.
eBay. Well, depending
No,
upon the product.
nowhere near it. Nothing can touch Amazon. But the main reason why I like Amazon is fulfillment by Amazon. It's this
Yeah.
beautiful thing where you just stuff products into the machine and then you walk away and you
Right.
could spend 1 month just cramming it and then do nothing the next month
Yep.
and still make a
Exactly.
lot of money. It's I can focus, I can batch my work to now. Instead of selling, you know, and say if I let's just say I have 1,000 items and I list them and now they sell. Now I'm at the mercy of the customers. I have to ship it when it sells, and those 1,000 items might sell across a month. Some days I'm, you know, even if it's in your garage and you don't have to go to your warehouse, you know, stop what I'm doing, pull my orders, pack them, wrap them, get them shipped out. 3
Yep.
orders today, 6 orders tomorrow, 12 today, 1 today, none tomorrow. I'm at my kid's birthday party and I'm checking my phone to see if I have orders I have to go wrap. You know, I'm
Right.
late because I had to wrap 3 orders and I have to maintain my fulfillment promise. Or I wrap 1,000 orders in 2 days and ship them all to FBA. And now I don't have to worry about those 1,000 items. They sell regardless, you
Right.
know? And so
So
that's a huge
I
benefit.
created a wearable blanket called the Throwbie. It's a blanket poncho and it's my brand. It's, I branded it, registered trademark through Amazon. So they have the registered trademark. And the first few years I did start selling it through FBA, and I would wrap pallets full and send it in, and I had to get the timing right because now you have so much inventory at FBA
Right.
that's racking up so many charges. And it's a delicate balance to be able to manage that number, because after the holiday season you don't want too much inventory to be stuck there because you have
Yeah.
to
And you
call it
also
back
don't
when
want
it's
too much there during holiday season because they charge you more.
right. Exactly. But FBA it was like a retailer that I couldn't have even established myself. Everyone hopes to get their product in the big box stores, the
Right.
Target, Walmart, but getting it, onto Amazon, and that was just my doing. The barrier of entry was so minimal. I didn't have to talk to a buyer or get approval or get them to call me back or anything or put in a purchase order. I just sent in inventory and it was just so easy to get started. That was the lifeline for the product. And the Throwbie has been thriving ever since, and that was really like what launched me into a successful product by creating it and selling it through FBA. So yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
FBA is super great when it comes to that. But you like everything. You just have to be careful. Be careful
Oh
not
yeah.
to go too overboard.
Yeah. When something's too good to be true, it's because it is.
Yeah.
So there's always, it's always like, look, I know it's fire and it's hot, but it cooks your food so much faster.
But you got to talk to people. It goes back to exactly what you said in the beginning. Talk to people. Who is doing Amazon right now? And sit there for an hour, take them out for a sandwich, and find out where all the pitfalls are and what
Right.
successes they've had. Because everyone is talking about the successes, and people love to brag about the successes, but you have to be
Right.
like, where can this go wrong? And let me
Yeah.
take notes on this, so I don't get my finger burnt, when it comes to that fire that's cooking my food.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's huge. And that's definitely why the reason it's not that a lot of people don't know about Amazon, most brick and mortars are probably sitting there like, dang, Amazon, like, and they probably, I feel like they want to secretly just be like, I wish I was on Amazon. Like,
Oh yeah,
how do I
definitely.
figure that out? Like, you can figure it out, and it's like, that's another thing that I look at now, as I do consider myself an expert of, Amazon consultant, FBA, all this stuff, even though I haven't, done every single thing. I know enough about everything, and I have been fully in depth with Amazon in certain business models for, lengthy periods of time. It's like, look, I like to go to like little fairs and find people that are producing little products and then be like, have you ever considered selling this on Amazon?
Hmm.
And, it can go a couple, either I can get a consulting thing with them to help them figure it out. And that might turn into a lot of consulting, because you might find out some people, they want the information, they'll figure it out. Other people, maybe they do that, they won't figure it out. Now they want you to do it for them. Well, that costs a little more. You want me to do everything. You want to get your brand on Amazon for you, take all the pictures, like figure it all out, But
Right.
there's huge opportunity in helping other, in the business to business of
Yep.
helping other people get that success on Amazon. There's so many people that produce so many amazing products, whether they're handmade or they have a factory or whatever, but
Yeah.
they just sell it at the farmer's market. They just sell it at their stand at the flea market. They just, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
But if you're going to coach, if you're going to be that, if you're going to be that Amazon mentor for them and teach them how to do it, you have to have gotten your feet wet. You have to have been in the thick of it with Amazon, like you and me. We know,
yep.
we've learned, we've grown, we've fallen on our faces. We had to recover. I spent $10,000 one year in storage fees that I shouldn't have, because I sent in inventory too early. I didn't time it right.
Wow. Yep.
So, but I've learned, and you can't just come out of college or come off of a podcast thinking that now you know everything you need to know about
Yeah. You
Amazon
don't,
and you could teach others.
yeah. Well,
You can't
it's
do that.
weird. You can learn stuff, but I feel like you don't, at least me, and I think a lot of people, there's a saying, it's like people who pay attention. So when I learn, like when I lose, is when I have a good lesson,
Right?
right? Like,
People who
that's not a, it's
pay
not an
attention like
L like a
that.
loss. It's like a
Yeah.
lesson. It's like when money is involved, I
Yeah.
pay attention just a little bit more, It's like, it's a universal language. So it's like when you make mistakes, if you value your mistakes, and you like, I won't do that again,
Right.
you're getting better and better. And people would be like, REEZY, how'd you learn all this? Who taught you everything? And I was like, I just made every single mistake. I
Right.
made
Right.
every mistake you could think of. My first year on Amazon, I put $100,000 in the bank in profit, and this was from being check to check. But I also was an individual seller on Amazon for more than my first year.
Mm-hmm.
So for people that are listening, that Amazon has two selling plans: individual and professional. Individual sellers, it's free to be an individual seller, but they charge you an extra dollar per item.
Mm-hmm.
A professional seller does not get charged an extra dollar per item, but it costs $40 a month. So the rule of thumb is, and this is what I teach people, whenever you sell $40 a night of 40 items a month or more on average, you should be upgrading to be a professional seller. I didn't know this for my first year.
Mm.
Someone who I thought could never teach me a thing in my life, an older bookseller, told me about this. And I was like, wow, totally changed my perspective on, people being able to give you lessons from anywhere, people who don't discount anyone or whatever.
Right.
But I was an
How much
individual
did you leave
seller,
on the table? How much did you leave on the table?
$10,000.
Oh,
So my first year of selling of
so we
Amazon, I
had
put
similar levels.
100,000 of profit in the bank,
Yeah.
but I sold over 10,000 units,
Yeah.
and I gave away $1 on every single one when I didn't need to.
Right.
I could have only spent $480 in pro seller fees, but instead I gave away an extra $9,520. off of a
That's a
mistake
lesson.
that I made, right? And so hopefully people that follow me will learn from that mistake and not, but I think if I just tell you that individual sellers get charged this, pro sellers this, if I just tell you that, that's so much different than me telling you the story of how I lost $10,000
Right.
by not making that decision. And you're like, you're never going to make that mistake because that cost me $10,000.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so
You do.
it's, man, life is a crazy journey. We're learning a lot on the way. I'm just
Yeah.
super thankful to be here. I actually think we live in like the best time ever. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now, but like the way we communicate and the way we buy and the way we sell stuff are changing every single day. And that's a very exciting era to be alive in.
Yeah.
Everything's changing. We're having like another industrial revolution probably in our lifetime. Like battery technology is going to get revolutionized. Solar power is going to become 10 times better than it is now. Automated cars, robots,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
social
crazy.
media, Neuralink, Elon Musk straight to your brain. Like I'm going to be
Right.
Googling stuff while I'm sitting there talking to you and you're not even going to know it. Like we're all going to be geniuses, like who knows, but it's exciting. And there's always going to be some crazy opportunity for people that are paying attention to, what's happening with the world
Yeah.
and technology, the
You know what?
internet,
I
where we
think
can
it's a weird
educate.
time for people in general though, because like you just said, the technology is flying away. The advancements are crazy. But I think people are being charged with being more self-motivated and empowered to take hold of their future. Back in the Industrial Revolution, everyone was mandated, not mandated, but you worked in factories. You had your job. You had to make your widget. You had to do this. You had to do that. You were guided by someone else. But now kids are graduating and they're thinking they should be entrepreneurs because that's what society is expecting of them now. And
Right.
why would you get a corporate job? You're listening to all these other people telling you just do it on your own. And it's scary. And we talked about the fact that 98% of people aren't going to really follow that path. They would say they will, but they won't.
Right.
And it's just becoming so much more popular to be an entrepreneur, but it's not for everyone. And it's
Right.
frightening. And I feel bad for these kids that are setting
I
the
wish,
expectation for
I,
themselves, and their parents are like, why aren't you motivated like Joey? And
yeah,
it's
I wish there was a way like, we could like tier out I wish, like right now you can just say, I'm an entrepreneur. And I guess like maybe you are, I don't know. It depends on what you've done or whatever. But for me, it's easy, or I guess, I mean, it's relatively easy to do something that can make you some money right now.
right.
But
You and I have
if
that
5 years
same.
go from how many of those people that, right, well, how many people that are saying they're entrepreneurs right now are going to be saying they're an entrepreneur in 5 years?
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know what I mean? Because that's to me, and I was telling someone this the other day. I was like, I don't need to know the ins and outs of your Amazon business and how well you're doing, but I know that if I've been talking to you in the community 5 years ago, and 5 years ago you worked for yourself selling on Amazon, and now it's 5 or 7 years later and you still work for yourself selling on Amazon, I know you know a thing or two,
Mm-hmm.
and you're actually really doing it.
Right.
But in
Right.
that 5 to 7 years, there's been a lot of people that showed up, made 100,000 or sold 100,000 or even sold 1 million, said they knew what they were doing, even released courses about it and try to charge other people to teach them about their wisdom. And now 5 years go by. Where are they doing now? They're
Mm-hmm.
not selling on Amazon anymore. They don't
Well,
have a website. We've never heard from them. They went back to their corporate job or whatever. Who knows?
Well, you're only as good as your last sale. So you can't rely on all the other stuff that you've sold in the past. You need to continue having the momentum to move forward and perseverance, because every day you start from zero. So it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. And people have to stop being so hard on themselves thinking that they failed at entrepreneurship when it was never meant to be for you anyway. People
Yeah.
who listen to you get motivated, let them get motivated and do the best job they can at their corporate job.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's real different, but I know for me that I'm going to get what I want no matter what.
yeah,
And I'm going to, if it boils down to me having to be like, all right, family, we can only afford to drink water now because we have to save this extra $7 a day that we would normally spend on orange juice, or we have to go to the churches to get food now, or let's eat at the homeless shelter, which is something we did when we first started. We
Mm-hmm.
ate at the homeless shelter for 30 days in a row to save money to be able to start. When I first figured out how to really scan the books and how to buy them, I was like, wow, there's so many that are worth money, but I don't have enough. Even though I'm getting them for $5 a bag, I don't have enough money to buy all the ones I want, and they take a long time to sell, be waiting around for them forever. So let's eat at the homeless shelter for 30 days so we can save our grocery budget, which was the only thing that wasn't a bill that
Mm-hmm.
someone would like. That was the only one I could control and do anything with, right? Because you got to pay your electricity and your rent, right?
Right.
But how many people would do that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I know I'll do what it takes.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I almost think of entrepreneurship as a life and death thing. It's like, if you're coming at me to kill me, there's only two things that's going to happen. One is I'm going to die fighting, or I'm going to kill you. That's it. You know, I'm not going to like let you roll over me. And that's how I think of, you know, anything I want in life or entrepreneurship or business is like,
Yeah.
what I want is what's going to happen. Either it happens or I die. That's it.
No, that's a great way. And you know what, we little side story, my husband and I put ourselves to the test. We're like, we've been doing this since 1999, like around the same time you started. And then we my son went to college, and we're like, it's expensive as crazy hell, and we're going to pay for this by garage selling. Only garage selling. We're going to document it. We're going to start from zero. We're only investing $1,000. We started with all new eBay accounts. So we weren't even like, you know, living off of the accounts that we had built over the past 20 years.
Right. No excuses.
No excuses. And let's see if we could do this. Just start as if we had nothing. And
How
we
long
did.
ago was that?
That was 1 year ago. Last week, it was 1 year ago.
Wow.
And it's called 1K Tuition Mission. It's on Instagram and Twitter. And I tried documenting and posting, and then I got a little lazy. But, you know, besides for the online social media aspect of it, the 1K Tuition Mission on Instagram, we did it. We paid for his entire first year of college. That was $50,000. And we've built up tons of inventory. We got into a mid-century modern niche because that's, you know, a lot of the stuff when people are clearing out their houses.
You live on the East Coast?
Yeah.
Where at?
Central New Jersey.
You guys got a lot of good old stuff.
Yeah. Lots of people.
The difference. That's one thing I tell people is like, you got to be aware of what you have where you live. You're not going to find as much old antiques, stuff like that on the West Coast. You're just not.
We do a lot of shipping out to the West Coast.
Of course, because we don't have it out here and we want it, you know? And you guys have all the old stuff. You know, I remember the first time I went to the East Coast, I was like, I've never seen so many stone buildings. Like in one walk in New York City, I've seen more bricks than I've seen in my entire life in California. Everything out here is made out of stucco.
Yeah.
Drywall. Yeah. You know what I mean? You guys have, you know, bars in New Jersey that like Benjamin Franklin had a beer in, you know?
Yeah,
so
we do have a lot of history on this side.
Where I live, it's a really hippie, free thinking, educated society, and it's a high literacy rate, and it's expensive to live here. So we got books.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We got books. Yeah. And you got to know what you know. When I remember when I was in the Midwest, I didn't know so much about it at the time, but there would be like tractor parts all the time at the garage sales. Right? Like,
that's right.
I didn't know about those stuff, but that stuff's worth money. Now I'm like, oh man, that giant tractor wrench or this weird like big gear thing, like I got it for $2 and sold it for $300. You know, like
actually, that's how my husband started his whole thing. He would go out to auctions, like near and far, from the East Coast to Michigan to Illinois, Ohio, and factories were closing down and machine parts. And he wouldn't bring home a tractor or anything. But, you know, all of these tooling and inspection equipments that were used in large factories, you know, we weren't producing anymore in the United States. So these factories were closing down. But these parts are worth a lot of money.
There's always a few of them still in operation.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
And the parts they need are not made anymore.
They're not made well anymore.
Right. Exactly. Yes. That's a huge niche, is like, warehouse, factory equipment, laboratory stuff, and you can make insanely good money just like buying broken factory or lab equipment and just unscrewing every little thing you can from there and selling it. The switches, the circuit
Exactly.
board, the
Exactly.
light bulbs that go on the machine. Like somewhere there's a factory that has 55 employees and does $6 million a year revenue, and they need that light bulb that you have on that panel, and they will pay you $35 for that light bulb because
Or 3,500. Yeah.
yeah, whatever, it
But
broke.
that's the
and
deal.
and
I did
for
a
them to
live,
get a new machine built for their custom it's not even real, it's like
right. I did
old
a live
industrial.
a couple weeks ago from a nuclear power plant auction. And
Wow.
it had a guard there with a machine gun. And I was a little reluctant to get him on camera because I didn't know if he would shoot me. So I didn't get him on camera. But yeah, we did an inspection. They had no power in the warehouses of this nuclear power plant. And we were roaming the warehouses with our flashlights just to do a pre-inspection prior to the auction. And I did a live on my Instagram from there. And it was like freaky. You saw things that were like 30 feet long that would, like, I guess, be drilling into the ground, into the earth or whatever. But
Right.
it's just really interesting to just see all the tools that people use, or the furniture that people sat on, like 70 years ago, or how it was
Yep.
made. And you just find your interest, and then it becomes fun. And then all of a sudden we made all of our money that we needed for the first year of college, and we keep going with it. And we've given our son, like, he is in charge also of his side of it, so he buys and sells stuff, and my daughter buys and sells stuff. And there's just for a parent, I don't know if you feel this way about your daughter, but there's that saying that if you teach a man to fish, he'll
Mhm.
he'll eat forever. Yes, something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, we've mission accomplished. We've taught our kids how to fish. I feel like they'll never go hungry as long as they've seen what we can do. And that's why we did it. We started from the $1,000, and we just parlayed that into real livable money.
That's
And we
awesome.
still have our other businesses on the side that, pay the mortgage.
Yeah. My one daughter, well, both my kids don't really remember being super poor at all. My 8-year-old, she's never even seen her parents work a job ever. My 20-year-old, so when my 8-year-old, my wife worked with me every day until the day before she gave birth to our 8-year-old right now. And she had some jobs. So my 20-year-old remembers a little bit of that, but for them, I don't know. It's hard for me to think about why I am the way I am, is because my life was a certain way, and I know that their life can't be that way. So it's a struggle as a parent for me to try to get them to have the benefits that I got from having a shitty life without having a shitty life, And so like,
Right.
me and my wife go back and forth over it because we have completely different upbringings, but she's like, trying to catch the kids while they're climbing on the gymnasium. And I'm just like, let them fall. They're never going to be great climbers if you catch them every time they fall,
Yeah.
or my thing is my 8-year-old, I'll buy her Lego sets. And the only requirement I have is I want there to be more pieces in the next set than in the last set. And I showed her one time how to read the instructions in the Legos and how to put them together. And then here you go, you can put it together. And she'll like beg and plead and cry sometimes when she can't figure it out. And I'll never help her put the Legos together. And eventually she figures it out and she's all ecstatic, and we display it in the house. And it's like this giant, something an adult
It's a
would be
good
proud
thing.
to make or whatever. And my wife would be like, you're neglecting her. And I'm like, well, there's a difference. This is the micro neglect, right? Like I want her to learn what comes from figuring it out on your own in the moment. But in the macro, am I really neglecting her? Like I bought her the Lego set for the purpose of, teaching her this lesson. You know what I mean? And it's like, here's
Right.
the opportunity. Here's how you do it. Now figure it out. Because
A
if
lot of
I
kids
help,
don't even have anyone to open up the box for them. They just get tossed in a room, and it's like, here, do this. And then they embrace it or they don't. But yeah.
yeah, and honestly, that's in my opinion, that's good. But I guess I only know me, so it was good for me. But
Yeah.
like, like to this day, I know how to hook up electronics. I built this computer, like all this. Like people are like, well, how do you know how to hook all this stuff up? Like I'll hook up your surround sound or what? How do you know how to do this, REEZY? And I was like, because when I was a kid, I wanted to play Nintendo, and no one plugged it in for me. Like, what are you going to do? Not play?
Right.
There's only what? Red, white, yellow, and then a black cable. There's only so many possibilities. And then you look
Yeah.
on the back of the
It's
TV.
really,
How many
really
places are there to
important
plug
stuff.
stuff in? You know, what color is it? Did you try anything? Like,
Yeah.
and
This
that's
is really
probably
important stuff.
why it drives me so crazy when people ask for help but haven't tried at all.
Right. Or
Or
they need the hottest stuff. They need the best
right,
equipment in order to first try to go fishing. Like, no,
right.
you need a crappy rod and you need to dig up some night
Yeah,
crawlers
like
at dawn and you
don't
need to,
go to film school, buy a video camera and
yeah,
start making some movies. Buy a shitty one, because guess what? You might spend like $1,000 on a shitty camera, try to make some movies, then realize you don't even like making movies.
right.
Now you just saved yourself $40,000, $50,000 of film school tuition,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
No,
just
it's
like
true. It's true.
it's
Kids are very different now. Kids are very different.
and also as someone who's like helps people and teaches them,
Mm-hmm.
I had to, at first I was so, you need me help? Let me help you. Let me give you all the help. Let me give you all the help. Help, 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 help. And then I can tell this moment, and it breaks my heart when I see the moment that they're not really about it, or
Right.
they really weren't interested in, because I like will pour my heart and soul into helping someone, whether even if it's in a DM or face to face. And so then and that hurts me. So I learned to pre-qualify people. So instead, like I will ask people questions to make sure that they really want it, or that they really tried, or that they're going to actually really help themselves.
Yeah.
And then, so, you know, like what if I pour out on you 30 minutes and then you don't even reply, or like you never do anything? Well, instead, let me just 1 minute or 30 seconds you something, and maybe you never reply to that at all. Cool. I just saved myself 29 and a half minutes and the heartbreak that comes from trying to really help someone who doesn't even want to help themselves. That hurts me so bad. And so, like, got to pre-qualify people, or even sometimes people are like, "REEZY, I got to have you on my podcast, like blah, 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 blah." And I go and look, and they just started it and they have 3 episodes. And I'll just tell them, "Hey, I'll be on episode 50. I'll do episode 50. You know, I'll sign it right now. I'll do episode 50.
Yeah.
Most of those people don't ever get to episode 50.
Well, let me tell you something. You're episode 12 for me, and it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. Hopefully, it doesn't matter to you. But when I first started this, I was starting with our pizza place owner who shut down during COVID, and then I did the high school principal, and then I just wanted to like get people, because I was curious and I felt other people were curious. What's going
Right.
on with the restaurant industry in COVID, and how did our schools be up and running so quickly with online teaching? And then I reached out to Gary Vaynerchuk's chief marketing officer, Steve Babcock, and he's the ex CMO of VaynerX. And I was like, Steve, I'm a nothing. I don't know you, but I would love to know what you're doing. How are you marketing in like pandemic time? Because I own a business and I have no idea if we should be asking for people's business or not. Do you stay away? So I'm like, I have a podcast. I just started it. I'd love an hour of your time. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So he came on with me. And, you know, there are people that are just town folk. And then there are people that are part of the C-suite of big, giant companies. And I'm like, why not me? Why not people talk to me? I want to know. I'm going to ask the questions. I don't know if it's going to circulate out there to 30 people or 3,000 people or maybe no people. But I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to put it out there. And
Right.
I'm one of those people that
Yeah,
say,
well,
I want a podcast.
good, totally good for you. But we spoke a little bit on DM, and I could tell we have like some things in alignment, which is why I agreed to do the podcast. And like,
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely.
honestly, had a really good time talking to you right now.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was more so, you know, I get those kind of requests all the time.
Right.
And if I just said, yes, I'll do your podcast, I'd be, you know, number 3. I've had people who they want me to be their first guest on their podcast.
Yeah.
And how much of a waste is that? Like, I'll do your podcast. It's not because you're a nobody or whatever. It's just because I don't want to do podcast 1 with you and you don't even do number 2.
Right.
Or
Right.
number 3 or number 5.
Right.
So let me just save myself some time and just say, hey, I'll be number 50. And maybe also encourage you. You know, Gary Vee did it to me. He was guest number 100 on my podcast.
Oh,
And
that's right.
and
That's
that's,
right.
you know, if I would have asked
And
him, just say,
you were
hey,
at the offices when you guys were recording it, right?
correct. Yeah. So I've been on his show or twice, I guess, but one of them was it was my podcast, but filmed in his office, and they aired that too on their thing or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, it was just like, I knew I could get him to be on my thing, and we have a little bit of communication. He follows me on Twitter. I've been on his show before, like whatever, but he's the epitome of busy people. Like, he'll say he can do something, and then you need to make sure he follows through. That's how busy he is, right? And so I knew, I was just like, hey, if I just asked him to be on my podcast, the chances are so low. Like, will you be on my podcast? But instead I was like, look, I'm on episode like 78.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, Gary, it would mean the world to me if you would be guest number 100 on my podcast. Like, you got me started. I'm on episode number 78 right now. It would take me about 2 months or so to get there. But would you do number 100? And he said yes.
That's great.
Right. And it's just like, you can't say yes to everything, and you won't get anything done.
Yeah, right? I agree.
And you want to help others, but you don't want to hurt yourself. And so there's just these situations where you can pre-qualify people to, I guess what I'm saying is, see if they're worth your time.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird or like selfish, but bear with me, is because if I say I'll be guest number 20 and you don't even get to guest number 3, that means that you think not only is you're not worth my time, you're not worth your own time.
Yep.
And so if you're not worth your own time, how are you worth my time?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, you just have to, I don't even know what tangent we're going on right here, but it's like,
but you know what? It
be
goes
self-aware
along
of how it works.
Yep. And I appreciate you spending, this much time. I didn't even realize how much time we have been spending. I thought that it would cut off because of the window of time that I put into Zoom, but I'm so glad that it's extended to the point where we talked about so much about life.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Can I share this with my podcast audience?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. What is your Instagram?
Well, that 1K tuition mission is that other side mission that we're on. And my Instagram is, I don't have one for this, it's 1K tuition mission, but my company is called Kona Benelli.
And how did we even meet or talk?
We met, it was on Instagram, and I think you had your daughter putting labels on, and I was like, way to go. This girl is like fantastic. And you replied. And my daughter also has a business. Hers is at Lily Shop on Instagram. And she too is like a thriving entrepreneur since she's 12 years old, like doing the whole flip thing with thrifting and selling clothes. And she does ambassadors and lives and sells on Instagram. And she's made like a ton of dough this summer during COVID by just doing that. And when I saw your daughter working for you, I'm like, that's it. That's how it's done. And I think I said to you that you were doing a good job, and you kind of replied back because she's a cutie pie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Luna's the head of the merchant fulfilled shipping department. Well, she was when we were selling like 8 or 12 books a day. Now that it's in it, that was actually fun. Go find the 12 books, wrap them, and write the name and get it all done. Now it's like, oh, let's mail out 512 of the exact same thing, and it's just an assembly line. And she's like, nope, I'm gonna watch cartoons.
Oh no. She retired.
Yeah, definitely. So I hate to run, but I gotta run. It's getting,
no, dude, we're done. We're done. You gave me a lot. And hopefully you've given everyone else a lot. This is you don't come from the lap of luxury and you're doing this as a side hustle. This is in your blood. This is in my blood too. So this is good.
Thank you. And hopefully when all of this is all said and done and we can start traveling again, we can have some nice meetups, and maybe one of them will be on the East Coast and you can come out and we can meet in person.
Yeah, cool. Very good.
Awesome.
All righty. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much. Had a good conversation, Jessica.
Same. Take care. Bye-bye.